There we go. We should be good now. How we sound? We should be good. Yeah, man. My microphone was giving me the business. I just literally, I turned on the stream. I go to grab my microphone, and it just like the power shut off. I'm like, okay, that's strange, but I'll just unplug it and replug it, and it'll come back on. And it did not come back on. I'm like, this is a problem I've not had to deal with, so I don't know what to do, especially with this particular microphone system I'm using. I use a Rodecaster Pro 2. And so I'm over here like, well, maybe I need to change adapters. Maybe I like, bro, that was an experience. I need a mimosa. It's only on orange juice. It's only orange juice. If YouTube is asking, this is a mimosa with only orange juice. Oh, man. It's Mimosa Monday, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. I gotta go back and fix this. Y'all work with me. I saw a question that was asking me specifically about in Brazil, so I'm gonna answer that in a second. Then I'm going to explain the rules of Mimosa Mondays. But I have to fix this first. I have to fix so everybody knows where I'm actually at versus where YouTube says I was. Okay. I changed my thumbnail. Thank y'all for y'all patience, by the way. That was crazy. I'm over here thinking this is about to be a 2-second round. Let me just unplug this and replug this. And that thing, that was an ordeal I was not mentally prepared for. Most of Mondays is supposed to be my relaxing day. Everybody knows that. It's because because y'all have to work real jobs on Mondays. But most of Mondays where we chill, y'all get to laugh at my ridiculous answers and stuff. And I get to drink mimosas for everybody who can. For the real ones, for the homies. For the homies that didn't get to make it out of the 9 to 5. Oh, man. So, I'm just tagging this up real quick. So people know where to find me. There's been a lot of crazy stuff going on. I had to, one thing that some of y'all who, once again, I know you got a lot of people who have been here since the beginning of the beginning. I don't know if y'all remember, there was actually a time where I did not take weekends off. I used to actually work. Actually, there was a time where I posted the most on the weekends because back then, a lot of people used to watch, I guess, because they were catching up. So I used to post a lot on weekends. But now I don't do it. I don't do that, man. Not anymore. Nope, because I be tired, bro. I got kids. Politics is exhausting. Drink to that, right? If y'all over on if you're over on hold on, let me go ahead and go delete the other one too. My fault. If you're over there watching on Twitter, y'all come here and find your boy. Find your boy over here on YouTube. There we go. Yeah, I gotta delete this other one so nobody comes looking for me over there. That's crazy. I can't believe my sound just randomly decided to do that. Bro, technology is just forever betraying you, bro. You spend so much money on technology to make sure everything go well, and then like it just all betray. Man, hold on, let me pour another. Y'all give me a second because I need another one. I had to make this one a little bit stronger because that's crazy. Listen, okay. So first question that we got on the last chat. And I'd appreciate y'all like this and share this. Por favor. Por favor. But the last question we got on the last chat is, how am I liking Brazil? Oh, actually, before we get into that, I gotta explain the rules of Mimosa. So Mimosa Mondays is this follows. If there's any, it's an ask me anything situation. Most of you all are aware of how that works. You can ask me whatever you want. And super chats take precedent when I get my subscribers set up, which I still have not done. When I get my subscribers set up, it'll be super chats. No, excuse me, it'll be subscribers, super chat, and then whatever questions I find most interesting. Of course, I had moderators, and then my moderators, they just like YouTube decided to take them away whenever I stopped being a partner. I don't know why. So I'm gonna have to bring back my moderators at some point. And while we're doing it, I drink mimosas for the homies that can't because they got a 9 to 5 to work on Mondays. Y'all know in my household, Mondays is it's supposed to be a relaxing day. For real. You know why? I figured out the math. This is tobacco. This isn't even really what y'all think it is. But that's some good tobacco. Can I have some more? I'm gonna have some more. Yeah, that's some good tobacco. That is some great tobacco. So during Mimosa Mondays, I try not to stress because I feel like you get like a wave that comes over you the moment that you wake up and realize, oh, it's Monday. Like now you feel like you got to read everything, at least in what I do, which I'm sure with what a lot of people do. Like you got to wake up, you got to read, you got to know everything that's going on because you got to prepare for a week. It's gonna get on your nerves, but usually once you get past Monday, the week tends to, even out a little bit, right? So I just skip Monday. That's basically the rule of my house. I have Saturday, Sunday, and I have Saturday and then 2 Sundays, and then it's Tuesday. So that's why I got most of Monday. I've never liked Mondays. I've always dreaded them. So we figure we do something fun for those of you who are allowed to listen to your headphones at work. Some of you are looking for something to do on your lunch break. And that's where Mimosa Mondays came from. So for my first question that I got asked in the last stream before I got kicked, how do I like Brazil? Man, I love Brazil. I love it. I can't really begin to describe how much I like it more than the US. I'm not gonna lie to you. There are certain things about the US that I miss that is like probably horrible for me. So I can't really complain all that much. For example, I miss the convenience of fast food. Here, they don't really do fast food, right? So they have a burger. So the only 3 drive-thrus that I've seen that they have, McDonald's and Burger King, because they rule the world somehow. And then Bob's Burgers. And no, it's not the Bob's Burgers. Y'all, I was like, damn, Bob's Burgers has a whole brand in Brazil. No, it's not that kind of Bob's Burgers. It's literally just burgers. It's the most plainest tasting burgers in all of the world. I've never tasted a burger worse than that burger. I'm not even gonna cap. Bob's, y'all need to call me if y'all need somebody to help y'all with, update your recipe, because that's not hitting. I don't know why these Brazilians who love seasoning the hell out of their damn steak, and usually their burgers too, I don't know why they love this franchise so much, but they do. They're like I would say they're equivalent to like almost like a Five Guys, if you will. So I be missing fast food sometimes. Mostly, I realize I miss the convenience because I remember being in the U.S. and I didn't like the food. Whenever we would go to like McDonald's because we were on the road, or we would go to what's one that I normally go? I don't usually even eat McDonald's like that. So Chipotle. I didn't like Chipotle. I had it. I was like, ugh, this tastes sour. And I was like asking everybody that I was like, yo, does this not taste sour to y'all? And they said, nah. So then I went back, in case it was just me, maybe something going on in my taste buds that day. I'm old. It happens now. When you're old, your taste buds be betraying you like the rest of your body. So I went back and got more, and it tasted sour again. So I realized it's just whatever they put in the food that makes up the ingredients as fresh as they would like them to be. My taste buds have been adapted to what they grow here in Brazil. Most of the chemicals and stuff they put in the food in the US is illegal here in Brazil. So like I don't really miss the food itself as much as I miss the convenience. When I was in the States, I missed the hell out of Brazilian food. And it could just be some basic shit like steak or feijão or like farofa. Like it's like side dishes and but like and I miss salads from Brazil because they taste completely different. Like everything is better here. Like if you it also kind of depends on what you put value on, right? When you put too much value only and solely on aesthetic, not that I mean, you know, Brazil got some aesthetics. Y'all see my baby, the aesthetics is lovely here. Okay. But if you put like the aesthetic, if you put value on the aesthetics of what's around you, like if you like gentrification, like yeah, there's areas like that here, but that's not like what I'm talking about when I say like it's beautiful. The people are beautiful. The way that they like to help each other is beautiful. Culture is beautiful. Like when you go to the club in Brazil, if you are one of those type of people, and by the way, it's kind of like, at least in Rio, from my experiences, but from what I hear, it's basically everywhere. But in Rio, it's not like a kid thing to go to the club. Like, right? It's not just like a kid thing to go out and dance. It's like the adults do it. I've seen grandparents out there getting it in. And usually, like for me, I'm accustomed to seeing that in a place like Miami, because Miami's Miami. And boy, don't nobody make more money and have a consistent job than the babysitters in Miami, because they're not going to not party. So it could be a Latin culture thing in general, but it's kind of like that here. They have block parties all the time, bro. I can't really think of a weekend that in my current home, I live in a gated community. I can't think of a weekend where there wasn't a kid having a birthday party or an adult just randomly deciding to have a party. And usually those things end up being put together. The kids play outside here. Like the parents feel comfortable just letting their kids run around. I'm still not really at that point. I don't let my 6-year-old do that. I don't let my stepson do that. I don't let him just go out and run around, and now he gotta be in front of the house. He gotta be in eyes vision. It could be because I'm black and paranoid and traumatized, but they're so comfortable. They're used to it. I mean, I'm talking about 3 and 4-year-olds just running up and down the street. They leave the gate, come back when they feel like it. And I've lived in 2 different neighborhoods now, and so I know that this is like, oh, this is the norm. Y'all just let these kids run around. It's crazy. But they're also the kids want to go outside. Whereas, like, for example, my nephew, now he wants to go outside. He's getting older. He wants to go play with his friends, but he usually wants to go to their crib, or he wants to sit down and play video games. They ain't going outside here to play video games. The rumors about them being nice at soccer are valid. So let me just go ahead and get that out of the way. I be holding my own though, but I was kind of impressed. I was like, damn, I'm about to get my, I'm old now. My legs ain't quite what they used to be, but they was impressed by me. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not, what I'm saying? I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but they was like, damn, you're American? I was like, yeah, man, but I played with a Brazilian once. Nah, but the guy that I actually learned to play from visually, like that wasn't a professional, like that I actually watched all the time. He plays a lot like a Brazilian. So that's where I learned how to play, where I learned my vision and all that good stuff from. So that was they are as good. Like these kids, they be playing volleyball with the ball, but with their feet. Like I'm sure y'all have seen that. Like, yeah, that's real. They really be doing that. Kids, they play like ping pong, right? Like table tennis, but they do it with their feet. Like that's a real thing out here. And the kid, I'm talking about 7, 8-year-olds. Yeah, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine seeing a 7 or 8-year-old in the US playing like volleyball with their feet. So that was crazy. Quality of life, obviously, for me being American is way better and it's better than most Brazilians. And I try to do whatever I can to actually help people out. Go out and give food, people, help out people money wise. I've bought diapers for people a lot. Just random, just because they're out there with their kids. So, that's why. It's not like I'm just like, hey man, you want some diapers? Nah, I bought a lot of whenever I see people like with kids or something like that, on the street, like I ask them if they need something. So that part, like they do have a homelessness issue, but It's not like the US where there's actually a lot they can do about it. And to be completely fair, Brazil actually does try to do something about it. If you have like a kid, for example, and you can't afford like if your salary doesn't add up so that you can afford a home by yourself for your child, for you and your child, if you're a single parent, then the government will pay you to at least make sure that you can have a home for you and your child. It's like 750 reais a month. I think sometimes it can be more, and that obviously can be multiplied by having multiple kids. So there's definitely ups, there's downs. I miss my family sometimes. I always miss my family, but it's nice to be liberated from the burdens of being close to your family, especially when you are the oldest. So other than that, like, I still miss them, but you get a lot of responsibility when you're the oldest. So you're trying to live your life. And also just by way of my job, I also have the most freedom. Everybody just expects Niko to just drop everything and get up and go. So Sophia, bom dia. Somebody said, Robbie Burns said boobies. I'm assuming you're referring to the aesthetics out there. I mean, yeah, they have them, right? But that's not what Brazil is known for. I'm gonna tell you like this. Everybody's familiar with the phrase Brazilian butt lift. They are familiar with that surgery. They don't call it Brazilian butt lifts because Brazilians need Brazilian butt lifts. I'm gonna put it like that. They just born with their butts looking like that. And honestly, it's almost offensive that they would name the surgery Brazilian butt lift because it don't quite do Brazilian butts justice. It's not fair to them that their butts are being represented in a way that I feel is not representative, is all I'm saying. Speaking from experience here, guys. Just say. Pouch occasional. Sophia, so let me tell you about this pouch occasional. I was getting fat off of eating that damn shit. First, pouch occasional. Pouch occasional is very, very addictive. It's addicting. Like if you are a person that just likes something quick, something's gonna taste good every time, something that is very, very difficult to mess up. Right? And if you're like, you're not so for me, I don't really like a big breakfast, but I have to have something to eat. Pouch occasional is like, that is what you eat. And it's everybody's, people bring it for other people, like super easy. Problem is, pouch occasional is probably the reason that these girls got the butts they got. I'm gonna be honest with you. Because my butt, I started looking like I had a BBL after about I had to get my blood. Yeah, this is within the first 3 or 4 months of me moving here. It's very, very difficult for me to communicate. And I was like, I need to figure out some way to communicate my way to a gym membership. I'm not about to do this because pouch occasional. I mean, really all the food here. And when you're only paying, so I only pay for my average like meal. I'm talking about food with the sides. Because so if I would say my average meal, like if I'm eating, I'll have rice and I don't eat a little bit of rice. I'm a rice guy. I went to Korean church for a very long time, boy. Rice is what I love. I got rice. I got molho com paña, which is like it's kind of like the Brazilian pico de gallo, to be real. That's what I would refer to it as, like a Brazilian pico de gallo, different flavor, more with more vinegar, but like that's kind of what it's like. You got farofa, you got feijão, which is black beans, and then I'll get steak. Some people get churrasco misto, which is like you get steak, whatever, like pork sausage, like another kind of steak and chicken. So like there are people who do that. I usually get steak and chicken. So like that meal will cost me, with the drink, without costing like $8. All of that. And that's eating at a nice place. That's eating at a nice place. And that's probably like I'm downtown. That's not like in front of my house. If I wanted that type of food in front of my house, I'm paying $4. There's a buffet in front of my house that literally costs $4. Or $4 American dollars, excuse me. Well, it depends. Depends on what the value is. But generally, I check it's between $4 about $4.50, and then the highest it's ever been like $5.10. That's a buffet, bro. And this is Brazilian buffet. It is like kind of like Golden Corral where you can tell them to go and like do the steak for you in the back if you got the buffet. Yeah, it's like that. So, and then they have like every Friday they do like a pizza buffet where they come around like, so they kind of see. I know Texas de Brazil. A lot of y'all probably eating there and seen they've come around with the different meats, and that's the thing here too. I would say it's not as common. Like it's not like the main way to eat here, so I don't know why it's like that. But with they have every like nice restaurant has like a pizza day where they do that, but with pizza out here. It's funny as hell because I'm like, that's wild that y'all actually do this like with pizza. It's like this is the thing. If you go to like Texas de Brazil or another type of Brazilian restaurant, generally speaking, they're bringing you out different types of meat. And here they're actually just have a day where they bring you out different flavors of pizza. And I thought that was hilarious. It was very inconvenient because there was one day I was like craving some food from the buffet and they was only serving pizza and I did not want it. Dr. Nick Rivera said the Brazilian ass is probably the most perfect ass on earth. Yeah. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. That's the women here will tell you that. Like they be looking at each other like girl. Yeah. And they be born like that. Like they grow up. They grow up and just are like that, guys. I'm not even joking. If you see a Brazilian woman who like one day decided I'm gonna work out, and I'm like, that is the craziest. Because it's like they all have this ability. It's like born into them. Like if they decide one day that they want booty, they will have the booty. Like that is a thing here. It's got to be in the water. I don't know. I know Colombians be thinking they got it, but listen, especially if you ever go to Rio, because Sao Paulo is like New York, right? They got, obviously, Paulistas are Brazilian, but there's a reason that like they don't call the Rio people Rioans. They don't call them the like Rioans, right? The Rio de Janeiroans, like Paulistas, modern. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but people from Morenão, everybody got their own name, and it usually sounds like the state that they're from. That's not the women here. And here in Rio, aqui no Rio, okay, they call them carioca. Do I know what that means? No, but for me, it sounds like fine, brown skin, perfect bodied individual who speaks. They got like a little bit of a spice to them, but they're very, very traditional at the same time. It is the perfect blend of women. Like I would recommend men get a Brazilian woman 10 out of 10 times. Now, obviously, you gotta be careful because like you don't be out here trying to save nobody because you will get caught up like every other. You will get caught up. I've seen people try to do it. Okay, I've seen that. Don't try to save nobody. But I'm saying if you put in the don't look, y'all. Don't go find one of them Brazilian women who trying to learn English. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you try to go find a Brazilian woman that's trying to learn English, it's because she's looking for an American. If you get my point. I speak fluent Brazilian, good guy. I speak fluent Portuguese now because my woman did not want anything to do with an American before she met me. She decided that she liked me actually later on, which is kind of funny. But I spoke a little bit of Portuguese, and I could understand it. But here in Rio, once again, carioca, they got a whole accent, and it's like it is very, very different than the rest of Brazil. So that was a thing. So look, thank God for iPhone. I'm gonna put it like that because you can translate pretty easily on iPhone. But the value you learn, like, well, a lot of these women, how they see their value in the relationship is way different than a lot of the men. You have the gold diggers here because it's everywhere. But like women here, they're trying to split the bill because they understand like you work hard for your money, she's working hard for her money. Like they're splitting the bill with you if you don't got it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even still, I had to fight with mine to get her to let me pay for stuff. Cause she's like, I'm working, it's fine. For real. Like that's how she was. Like, no, I'm working 2 jobs, it's fine. She was. But yeah, like, but no one's judging you because of it. That's what's dope. Like here, having a family, like everybody's helping out all the time. And it's not weird. It's normal. You have, like, don't get it wrong, like you still have family stuff that like everybody deals with because that's just kind of how it is. But the reason they got family problems because they're all the families live so close together. So they ain't got no real problems. They might got gossiping problems, but you're gonna have that regardless. But they don't have like we homeless and on our ass problems. They don't got those kind of problems because somebody got an apartment. Somebody has usually it's 2 or 3 apartments. They all live close together. And the women are like the matriarchs, right? They really do, like they really run shit and they take pride in that. So I got a lot of respect for that because my mom, even though she wasn't like a traditional, because she had to raise 2 boys by herself, so obviously she couldn't be that traditional like wife at any point. But I respect when you just respect when you respect your what's that? Like your proprio espacio. You're like, it's your thing. Like this is like my girl, she does not let me wash dishes. It's a fight every time I try to. I had to sneak to wash my own dishes, y'all. Cause she's like, nah, I wash dishes. You have your job. I don't come in here and try to talk on the mic. like, don't wash my dishes, please. It's a whole fight. I'm like, nah, let me help you. She's like, no, I don't need it. Oh man. Thoughts on Rafah being invaded? Yeah, man. So I don't know. Let me see if I can pull up the map real quick. I need y'all to see. Because I need y'all to see something about where Israel is attempting to tell people to evacuate to. But we all knew this was coming because Israel, they're fucking liars. That's basically, so we all knew this was coming. Let's see if I can. Where is the map at? Where is it at? Come on. Sorry, I just really need to show y'all this map. Where are you at? Why are we having so much trouble with the map right now? Oh, okay, I'll just pull up this page. Sorry. I need y'all to see the map because I need y'all to see where they're trying to push them to. So this is a map of Gaza Strip. Okay, right here. Ooh, no, back up a little bit. I'm not that blind. So map of Gaza Strip, right? So this is Egypt, okay? Rafah is this area right here. They dropped pamphlets telling them to run away again. So if you all recall, Rafah was supposed to be a humanitarian safe zone. When they told them to run from the north over here, they told them to run out here. Okay? Oh, excuse me. When they told them to run from north over here, told them to run down here. But what happened was, now they're telling them, you have to run here. Like this little tiny area, they want 500,000. They want 500,000 Palestinians in Rafah to just hang out in this little tiny area. Little tiny area. Right here. It's Al-Mawasi. I believe it's called Al-Mawasi. I think that's what it's called. And it's right here. So they want them to run from here to here. Now, I want y'all to realize something. Do y'all think that that's just a coincidence? Do y'all think this is a really weird coincidence? They had them run down south, all the way down south to Rafah, which is where the Rafah crossing is and borders Egypt, okay? Then they're having the ones that they actually let escape because they're not even letting most of the boys run. So there's that. The ones they're actually allowing to escape, they're forcing them over here. Right here. At the border of Egypt and the goddamn ocean, basically. The Mediterranean Sea. I want y'all to understand something. That is basically them saying, we're going to either force Egypt to take you in, or we're going to kill all of them, and it will be on the blood will be on y'all's hands. That's what they're telling them. I do realize that. And they're saying it's supposed to be this like small military operation. Okay, then why did y'all just like kick Al Jazeera completely out of Brazil? Like they were staying in, I want to say the embassy or a hotel, and they removed it. Like there's still a little small team still because they had their drones flying over Gaza. They removed them like 4 or 5 days ago. Removed them. Okay. Took all their equipment. And then they announced this operation is going to go forward. It's almost like, you know, it's going to be a bloodbath, and you don't want anyone to be able to cover it because everybody and their mama right now is trying to prosecute y'all and call y'all out for war crimes. They're claiming that this is about Hamas. And they're claiming, the military is saying, oh, this is about getting Hamas out of the area. They haven't really told any proof or showed any proof that Hamas is actually actively in the area. And this is supposed to be a humanitarian safe zone. We've actually not heard any accusations. Think about that, guys. The entire time they've been talking about doing this operation, because remember, the U.S. even told them don't do it. And the U.S. even used this as a bargaining chip for Israel to not respond to Iran, because they didn't want Israel to, because at first they didn't want Israel to do it because it's like, bro, y'all told them to run here. The whole world knows this. Like they're the world's watching y'all. Y'all told on the little leaflets that y'all were dropping and bragging about, who else do you know drops pamphlets and tells people to run away before they commit a genocide. Ha 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 ha. Like y'all were super, remember they were super proud about that. I don't know why, but they were. All right. Like y'all told them to run here. Rafah is on the leaflets that y'all dropped last time. And now y'all tell them to run somewhere else where they're back against the sea. They're back against Egypt. Your choice is to drown, be forced to another country, or be bombed into oblivion. And y'all think that's a coincidence? So the U.S. tells them don't do it, but then uses it as a bargaining chip. Israel says, F y'all, we're going to retaliate against Iran anyway. And we're going to bring our, and we're still going forward with the operation. So even though a lot of their allies are advising against going forward with it because it's going to be a bloodbath. But I just want y'all to see how quick they were to try to sanction Iran for retaliating, ladies and gentlemen. But Israel is literally ignoring its allies. Israel is ignoring the United States specifically. Okay. Israel is committing humanitarian disaster after humanitarian disaster after breaking humanitarian law, international, like, and what? And nothing, basically, is what they're telling us. So if anything, it just is sad because like if you are a leader with any iota of power, and not every leader has power in the same way. But hold on, Levi, fecha a porta. O que você está fazendo? Sério? Boy, my boy up there just being nosy. Like if you're a leader in a position where you can do something, and all these leaders can do something. Not everybody has the same type of power, but all these leaders can do something. And you don't do anything, bro, that blood is on your hands. I can't really see it any other way. Luckily, I don't like any politician in the government right now, basically. Sometimes I like Thomas Massey, that's about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but the unfortunate reality is y'all kind of got blood on your hands anyway. That's just because there's a lot of leaders that could have done something, but they didn't want to lose their jobs. They didn't want to lose their severance packages. They didn't want to lose this. They didn't want to lose that. But I don't give a damn who I was working for, where I was working at. If the rule is I can't judge, I can't call out a genocide. I want to focus on Israel, but I can't call it a genocide. That's anti-Semitic. That causing I don't want to work here. And if enough people had the courage to do that, then they would have to change their policies. You wouldn't have to compromise your morals. So Man, y'all got. Let me take another sip. Supposed to be a good happy Monday, man. Let's try to keep positive, man, while we're praying for those in Rafah. Oh, I promise you, dog, they need to send some Iran, bro. Just go do your thing. That's all I'm asking. Just go do your thing, bro. Iran, do us a solid. I'm not gonna say what the solid is, but everybody in the chat knows what the solid is. Go do us a solid. Brian T, do you think that they are pretending to be resistant to Israel, but behind the scenes for all of it? Who? When you say, do I think they are pretending to be resistant to Israel? Who are you referring to? Drake or Kendrick? Drake? What? That's an easy one. Passport bro. Joseph Bett said, passport bros get caught in the game. Y'all know what's funny? I didn't even know what a passport bro was whenever this movement started, but I got my passport because I was supposed to go to Greece. Couldn't go because of family stuff. So I'm like, I almost, y'all know I was very, 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 very close to not going to Brazil. Like my first visit to Brazil, which is the same year I moved here, basically. My boy Mook was having a wedding. I was very, very much so on that verge of not going, just because I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. I was like, bro, traveling across the world, for me that I'm from the hood, so bro, traveling across the city one time used to feel like too much. Traveling states felt like too much at one point. So traveling to another country was like, oh, this is gonna be too much emotionally. I don't feel like dealing with this. Traveling with ADHD is a challenge, put it like that. But he sent me a message like, I can't wait for you guys to get here, man. So I was like, damn, that must be God telling me I need to get my ass over there. Like, bro, what's the point of? Because at this point I was learning Portuguese already, so like I did speak a good amount, enough to get around. And I was like, what's the point of learning Brazilian Portuguese and all this stuff if you're not gonna go test it out? So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Didn't think anything. I didn't think that I would fall in love with the country. I thought it was gonna be one of the situations like when I saw Mexico for the first time or Bahamas for the first time. Like, oh, it is what it is. Like, like one of those situations. Oh, nah, bro. Fell in love with Brazil. And that was Sao Paulo. I was supposed to be there for like 4 or 5 days. I think I ended up staying almost 3 weeks. I like changed my flight. Now, one of those changes was not my fault, actually. They canceled and moved my flight, but I was happy about it. And I fell in love with Sao Paulo. And my boy was like, yeah, you like Sao Paulo, boy, you better go check out Rio. It's different. It was indeed different, guys. It was. He was not lying. Being so being an American black person in Rio is like being a damn superstar here. Like, these kids randomly ran up to me and started rapping American songs. I was like, damn, they actually speak really good English for Brazilian kids. And they're like, oh, no, this is the only words we know. We just know the words to rap songs. I was like, yo, but it was funny. Now, these are like, I remember this is Brazil. So like these kids are like mostly black. So it's not like it was some racist. It was like whenever I told them I was American, they were like, yeah, man. I can't remember one of them was a Drake song. It was like Started From the Bottom. They started singing that. One of them started singing the J. Cole song. Oh, one of them started singing Hot in Here by Nelly. Bro, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, they really know the words of the song. And like, for some reason, they think, I mean, yeah, I knew the words of the song, which is funny. But it was funny to me that like, it was like, they've been waiting for this moment to go rap lyrics to a black guy. And so like, it was like, they just wanted to see pictures of stuff like that I had. I was like, yeah, man, this is my life. Because this is when I still lived, had an apartment in Miami. So I was like, yeah, this is what I do. And they were like, what? This looks like the movies. I'm like, I didn't want to spoil it for them. I'm like, yeah, but this is not normal life in America. Do not think that your life will be like this. Because for most people, unfortunately, it's a little bit more of a struggle. But I didn't want to ruin it. But it was It was dope. And what's even cooler is like you have a lot of, because y'all know like a lot of the issues, the black issues, not racism necessarily, but colorism and just the systemic problems. Brazilian black people do kind of deal with it as well. It's in a different way. It's hard to explain. It's different. Not It's because of how it's like, even as hard as it is for black people to gain wealth, as hard as it's been way harder for black Brazilians to gain wealth. They weren't even allowed to have any type of a start, like to the degree that we were allowed to have, like with Black Wall Street and all that stuff. Like there's nothing like that here that's ever happened. So if you figure a way out, it's a big deal. So they're always interested to talk to Black Americans. A lot of them are. But the problem is that almost no Brazilian speaks English, not legitimate English. The ones who do usually live in the States, or they wouldn't be in those areas, like these areas. Nobody where I live that speaks English except for my friend, who's my neighbor also. But I can speak Portuguese, and so there's like no black people that speak Portuguese, which I didn't know. I kind of didn't know that black people even came to Brazil. There is like this weird collective of black people from Atlanta or Georgia in general, but specifically Atlanta. They actually come to Brazil often. It's like they're older guys, like 45-ish, but they've been coming to Brazil since their 30s. They have like a collective. They come for like 3 months out the year, every single year. I'm like, what? And I'm like, how do you not know Portuguese then? This man said, bro, I got a private tutor. I'm like, what? But he's a country guy, so it's harder for him to get the accent. When you become, self-conscious, harder for you to speak, especially a language like Portuguese, where the words on the paper don't necessarily look like the words that you're saying. Don't sound like the words that you're saying. My man said, I'm about to hit the rum and PBR. What? You are on demon time on a Monday. Rum and PBR? I mean, if you wanted to mix rum with water, just go mix rum with water. You ain't got to open up a can and contribute to the pollution of water. You got to go open up a can of water. some carbon. Yeah, because PBR is basically carbonated water. Danny Nunn. Passport Bros movement is a response to divorce laws and corrupt child support system in the U.S. You know what? Danny? Kinda. I hate to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy, but I watched my brother. My brother went through this whole thing for his kid. And he won, right? Do you know the tactical advantage my brother had to have for that to happen? And then also, because he could have done everything perfectly and it still wouldn't have mattered if he got the wrong judge because of the state he was in. And I watched that shit play out. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, my brother was prepared 2-3 years in advance. And there's still not even a guarantee. And there's his friends, and we both have friends that have done everything, because we're very, very on top of each other. We make sure we educate each other. A lot of us either, like I wasn't a legal assistant in the military. They've gone through it. They just are people pretty experienced and pretty smart, help each other out. And we had 2 or 3 that did not get that lucky, and they did everything perfect. And the culture in the US now is like, everything is survival based. Everything is anxiety, survival. And people are realizing at the same time, like women to some degree are realizing they're not with men because they chose them. They're with men because they settle for them. But also men are realizing at the same time that they're not with women because they wanted to be with them. They're with them for other reasons. Like it was convenient at the time. They wanted a family. Like wanting a family and choosing somebody is not the same thing. You get what I'm saying? There are situations where you could want to, like, for example, I've always actually maintained that it's more important for a woman, for me, to be a good mom, like for me to believe in her being a good mom than being a good wife. Like, because I can't teach you how to be a mom. We can communicate the wife stuff, right? But if you're not a good mom, there is something in you that I'm not qualified to help fix. I can't give you maternal instinct. I can't be your father and I can't be your mother. I can't go back in time and get you to fix that. You get what I'm saying? Like, or help you and guide you to that point. I can't teach you how to love your kid right. Because I've seen the damage that does. And there's some things a father can help with, but there's other things that only a mother can give. There's only other there's other influences that only a mother can give you. In one form or another. And she's going to give it to you. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like a positive or negative thing. It doesn't matter if she was there or not there. There are some things that will last on you for the rest of your life with every decision that you make because of your relationship with your mom. It's like that with dad too, but it's just like a different thing. I can't really explain it, but I just know because of the relationship with my mom. My relationship with my mom has affected me more than my dad not being in my life. I knew my dad, like, we're good now. It's not like that, but he just wasn't in my life growing up because he was all the way in California. But my mom, that did not affect me anywhere near as bad, or not bad. I won't say that. Like, bad, when I say affected me anywhere near as bad, I mean like the impact of it. It didn't affect me nowhere near as impactfully as me just being there with my mom. Everything. If my mom did too much, if she didn't do enough, our arguments, like her perception of me, her perception of my friends, her perception of how I'm doing in my life, because like, you want your dad's respect, but you want your mom's love, right? If she's doing it right. But hell, especially if she's not doing it right. And in the US right now, there's a lot of people posting like they love on Instagram. There's a lot of people posting like they love on social media. There's a lot of people that are really good at acting like love, like they're in love on TikTok. But a lot of these people are not in love, y'all. There are a lot of people that are fulfilling needs. I gotta pull off real quick. By the way, this is not your Minute Maid orange juice, people. This is all natural. That's all I drink every morning, actually, so I don't get sick. Mama said, proud mama boy. I'm a proud mama's boy too, to be honest. I didn't start out like that. I was a daddy's boy at first. That's a complicated situation, but and to some degree, I guess, I still am. But I became a mommy's boy because I became like, no, that's like protective of her. And I respected her. Like, that was whereas like you have a lot of boys who love their mom. The love for my mother is out of the immense respect I have for her, which is a different type of thing. And like, if y'all saw us interact with each other, y'all would see it. It's a different type of love. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's interesting. And it wasn't always the best, like, as far as the way we express it, but me and my brother express our love for our mother through respect. So what I was saying was that you got a lot of people in the US that are good at acting like they're in love. But I can tell y'all from a personal perspective, bruh, being in love is very complicated. It is very beautiful, and as beautiful as it can be very, very ugly. There's a reason that y'all see some people, y'all hear a lot about grandparents. They'll say a lot of grandparents get shit, right? Because they'll say the mom should have left whenever the dad did this thing right here, and people don't understand why she didn't leave. They'll say the dad should have left, grandpa should have left because of this, and this. And they'll say, why they so, and they're still together, and they're 82, 83, 84 years old, and there's this assumption that everything was perfect forever. Hell, even I had that thought about my grandparents, even though I knew I know both of my grandparents. My grandparents were both beautiful. They were both smooth as EXO, both of them. Hell, actually, I will really say that about both sides of my family, but the ones that I personally knew, they ain't no way in hell that there was not, there was some problems along the way. And I found out later on that there were. And I'm like, damn, but y'all stayed this whole time? And like, till my grandma's dying breath, she always said, yeah, your grandfather spoiled me. I'm a spoiled brat because of your grandpa. That was my best friend. And like, whatever we had going on, like, that's still my best friend. And like, she took care of him. He took care of her. They never tried each other, even through that's the thing. that there's like a line, there's line in relationships and everybody has their own line, but there's certain lines in relationships that you don't cross, right? Even with all of your problems going on. And they never once crossed that line, even through their trials and tribulations. It's just like, he never tried me. I never felt like he betrayed me. We had our beefs. There was, they were grown, put it like that. But she's like, I never felt like he betrayed us. The thing that's beyond our relationship that we have. You get what I'm saying? And that's different for everybody. There's a thing beyond your relationship. There's a thing beyond your marriage. There's a thing. There's this, and I can't really put it into words. Maybe when we have our little shroom stream, I can put it into words. But there's a thing beyond your kids. And there's a thing even beyond being best friends. That like people, and that for me, that's what gotta be crushed before we can't do this. But it's very rare with those couples that actually have that thing beyond all of those other characteristics of a relationship. Those couples usually don't break up. And people are like, I don't understand why. Because they're projecting, and they're also talking about shit that they would do and how they would handle a situation that they've never been in and wouldn't handle like that. They're saying that because you never had that thing. But then there's like situations where, for example, if I mess up, right? I have a partner. If you have that thing beyond the things, if you have that connection beyond those other superficial connections, because yes, even love itself is a superficial connection. It's usually very selfish and egotistical. It's not supposed to be, but it usually is. If you have that connection beyond that, if I mess up, if you have that connection beyond that, your partner is going to be like, there's something going on. This person's acting out of character. And I wonder if I had something to do with this. Because I haven't done this, and this. That's the connection. You're still pissed. Y'all still gonna fight. It's gonna be an argument. There's gonna be problems. But internally, you're still like, I'm not about to go end everything, because this could have been something that I could have resolved, that I should have seen coming. But because of whatever I had going on with me, I wasn't paying enough attention, which is the only way that this could have happened. Because I've had that happen where my partner messed up. They were just, they didn't do anything crazy, but she was being crazy. Like, just, I couldn't do anything right. It was always an argument. And I realized I was working too much. And I know it's stupid. As stupid as that sounds. Like, what do you mean you're working too much? You're in the house. Like, that's not the same thing. I'm working on the computer, live streaming half the time. If I'm not live streaming back then, I was out doing activism stuff every week, every other week, every 2 weeks, and then sometimes multiple days a week. I was traveling to either stream or do activism stuff. When I'm in bed, I'm also on my phone researching. You get what I'm saying? Did I do anything wrong? No, but that wasn't the problem. It wasn't a problem of whether or not I was doing anything wrong. It's, am I fulfilling the need that I know my partner needs? And at that moment, I was not, which also was actually negatively impacting myself. And I probably was taking it out on her. You get what I'm saying? So instead of me lashing out to the degree I want, at first I was like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? But then when it becomes a regular, I'm like, okay, there's something else happening that she does not have the ability to articulate, because maybe she's just so frustrated and she doesn't even know what's really going on. But when you have a connection beyond the other connections, you know your partner better than they know themselves. That's kind of usually why y'all have that connection. So you feel like the propensity to constantly make yourself better. And I'm not, once again, not superficially, not like, oh, I wasn't pretty enough, or I wasn't handsome enough, or I wasn't this enough or that. No, I don't mean like that. It's, no, I'm not doing the thing. I'm not maintaining my part of the connection that kept us together, made us strong to begin with. Like, that's where you lead from, even in the biggest fights, especially in the biggest fights. After you get past the arguments and all that stuff. That is, they're not cultivating that in the US anymore. Everybody is guided by their ego, by their perception of how social media sees them. Everybody's guided by selfishness. Once again, I can't even like blame everybody. I can't even blame everybody for the selfishness because it's like a survival instinct. Everybody's terrified that they're not enough. And I don't mean enough for another person. Hell, that's already a problem. They feel like they're not enough to survive. And you know what happens when you feel like that? Because of trauma, situational or otherwise, you start becoming egotistical. You start becoming narcissistic. It's a survival instinct. Narcissism, people don't even realize a lot of narcissism is literally survival. That's why women who go through trauma at a very young age, a lot of the time, end up bipolar. And the key quality about bipolar shit, people, I don't give a damn what textbooks tell you. I'm telling you, as a person, because I'm an empath, so I've attracted a lot of bipolar people in my life without knowing that until like a few years ago. That I'm like, oh, this is a weird pattern. I need to figure out what's going on. And it wasn't something I was doing necessarily. It was a type of nurturing that my energy gives that made them feel comfortable, right? But then what bipolar disorder will end up doing to you, or at least borderline personality disorder, will make you the most narcissistic person in the world. And you can never do wrong. And whoever is in front of you that is willing to put up with you, all they ever do is wrong and nothing is ever your fault. And the reason why is because you're trying to protect yourself. And protecting yourself isn't just a physical thing, it is a mental thing. And the reason you have to protect yourself is to stop whatever happened to you that caused your trauma when you were a kid. You got to stop that from happening no matter what, even if it's unconsciously. And there's a lot of that going on. Unfortunately, a lot of therapists aren't qualified to be therapists. I do recommend everybody try to find one, especially if you're happy, because that's a good way to stay happy. To remind yourself, like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good right now. But even with that, the best therapy you can do is talk to the people in your life. That's my therapist helped me realize I got a great therapist. My therapist was very interesting because she was basically telling me why do you even need me? Which was a very I'm like, huh? Why would you say that? She said, because you understand all of your problems. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I didn't really expect you to tell me that. That's not how this is supposed to go. But that also lets me know, oh no, I'm not here to I'm not going through the motions. That's what that let me. I'm like, damn, that's a really good therapist. Yeah, I do understand. She's like, so what do you need me for? I guess is what I'm like. She was genuinely asking. I'm like, oh, probably just to verify and validate that I'm not out of my fucking mind. That I am seeing the things that I'm seeing and the way that I'm seeing them is not fallacious. I'm not blinded by. She's like, no, based off of everything that you told me, and it was separate situations, right? Where some of them I wasn't even included in, but the behavior was the same. And she realized of the people I was talking about. She's like, no, what you're saying makes sense, and your perception, because you always start off by saying what you could have did differently. So it's probably not you. Because it means that you're always aware of how you approach a situation, and you've probably put thought into trying to resolve situations that whatever party you're talking about was not meeting you halfway to help resolve. So my therapist is dope, honestly. If you live in the Florida area, you need a therapist, I can recommend you to one. And she does income-based discounts, by the way. And she accepts most health insurance as well, but she does income-based discounts too. But sometimes the best therapy, the reason I got to the conclusion that I got to before I ever talked to a therapist, guys, is because I talk to myself. I've said on this stream, I said on my show over and over again, there are people who have thoughts, and there are people who observe their thoughts. They're in other words, there are people who just have thoughts I need to do this. I care about this. This is really cool. I love this movie. Things like they have those thoughts, but they stop there. Whenever I like something, I'm like, why do I like this? Does it follow a particular pattern of other things that I like? Does it have characteristics of other things that I like? Is it new and unfamiliar to me? Is that why I like it? Do I actually like this? Or do I think I like this because somebody I'm friends with likes this? That's the kind of person I am. It is very, 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 very exhausting, but it saved me. It's helped me, because if I have a fight, I have to ask, and this is innately, it's not something that I've always been. I haven't always been like that, not growing up. I didn't get this way till I was about 26, 27 years old. And only as I got older did I start becoming more and more like that. Because of how much I realized other people were not like that. I'm like, well, shit, like I'm not gonna have a really happy life. And I'm not gonna be able to get along with the people around me if I'm not understanding their way of thinking. And if I don't understand myself, there's no way I can understand them. I don't give a shit who you are. You don't understand why you do what you do. You really and truly can't help. And I'm not saying you have to understand everything that you do, but you have to at least be able to understand yourself to help yourself get to those conclusions as to why you do what you do. That's my point. And if you don't understand that, you're never going to be able to help people in your life. And it's very unlikely that you'll be happy. And I'm not saying like it's fair, but that's life. And so why I say that? Because there's a lot of married couples out here who've been married for 40 years. They don't know each other. They don't know each other. They don't ask questions about their lives. Like they don't care. Because like, that's too much. I don't want to deal with that. That's inconvenient. Or you're going to figure out, damn, this person in their life did this to them over and over and over again, and I'm doing it to them too. Shit. And then you have a choice to correct that and help and be accountable or not. Right? Or you're figuring, or like you ask them a question, say you ask your wife a question or about how she feels about something that somebody did, and she goes on a tangent, and then you realize, oh shit, like I've done this a lot to her. And I don't think we've ever explicitly thought about this. Like, and now you're thinking to yourself, she's had a problem with this, with me doing this for a long time. She never said anything. So now you go down a rabbit hole. Like, so is there something that I'm doing that is like making her feel uncomfortable with communicating the fact that she has a problem with this when I do it? Yeah, there probably is. Probably is. It's true. But that realization is what makes people like, damn, now I got to reevaluate my life. That ego will kill you because every single person has to come to that point. I got to reevaluate my entire life. I have to reevaluate my relationships with people. I have to reevaluate my relationships with my parents. I have to talk to my parents. I had conversations with my grandma before she passed away. Like we had to reevaluate our status, like the dynamic of our relationships. Me and my mom had to reevaluate the dynamic. I had to reevaluate the dynamic of my relationship with my mom. Or my dad, excuse me. I had to reevaluate the relationship, the dynamic of the relationship between my mom and dad. Because I forgot at some point, like, yeah, your perspective is completely skewed off of how you felt about their relationship when you were a kid. Odds are, because you're now 35 years old, you understand that situation. There was more to that situation than what both parties were willing to say. And it's probably because they don't want me to feel a certain type of way about the other, or they don't want to be culpable, because that's human nature. And that is how adults are. And you also know your parents, because you have to deal with some of their negative, their negative characteristics. Like as a kid growing up, you know your mom or your dad is hard-headed. You know your mom and your dad always feel like they have to be right. You know your mom and your dad might be lazy. You know your mom and your dad might be defensive or argumentative. You know certain things about your parents that as you get older, you can now apply to, you can see objectively like, oh, I can see how this could be a problem in their actual life. If they're like that with me, oh shit, I just realized, how are they ever going to be happy together? Because this parent's like this parent's like this, and I know them separately. And neither of them like that shit. Okay. Well, then if my parent is like this, now I'm starting to get why they really were having why they were fighting over me. It really wasn't because of me. It was because of X, Y, and Z. Like not fighting over, like fighting to take custody or whatever. It had nothing to do with this. It was everything to do with this. And now you got to once again, and then that type of stuff caused you to have to do the work to reevaluate every single relationship in your life. And who wants to have those conversations? Who wants that? Like it's tough, y'all. It's tough. It's hardest to have it with yourself. It really is. Riley Page said, I guess you're my therapist now. Maybe. Hell, all my other friends use my therapy. We used to have a group chat. And we called it, we had Chisme Mondays. For those of you who know, Chisme is Spanish for like gossip. So we would have FaceTime and all of us would FaceTime in a group chat. And basically I tell them about them damn selves, the way they was acting that weekend. Because usually I just be to myself, just back when I was in Miami, I was just to myself usually. And I don't like drama. But I'm fully aware of how people act in certain dynamics and they know I'm paying attention to everything. Well, they figure it out. Because one time something happened. I was like, nah, you did this because this person did this and this person was over here. And every time that person was here and was talking, this person walked up and decided they want to interrupt, like they didn't want them talking. They're like, what the hell? That's what you be doing? I'm like, I don't do it on purpose. But eventually, like I said, I want to know why somebody is acting the way they're acting or behaving the way they're behaving. And so my brain does it for me now. And so then they started asking me, why am I like this? So then I'm like, oh, don't ask me a question you don't want to know the answer to, because we're going to have a lot. And then so we all just having conversations, a bunch of guys having conversations about childhood trauma, about why we act the way we act, why one of my friends now who is in a very, they're in a happy relationship right now. They're both my friends. But we had to have a whole conversation about why he was avoiding relationships before and why that particular person that he's with now would not want to deal with him, even if she liked him. Because she like, yeah, you haven't shown that you have dealt with this problem. You need to figure out why you keep doing this. And my other friend who has a personality of a damn female, basically, like all the negative stereotypes, like just being weird on social media, cryptic tweets, like doing stuff to get attention. Like, and I'm like, bro, you were definitely raised by all women. And they were like, what? How did you know? I was like, dog, 3 sisters. Got it. I said, he got to have all sisters. He's probably the youngest. Excuse me. And yeah, it was the case. So that's why he handled his problems like that. Because while they were in high school, I'm sure he watched them handle their problems the exact same way. So, and yeah, so I will say it can be exhausting paying attention all the time and actually caring. It's like, but I also realized that, like, damn, bro, like my real friends, like the people I love, like, if they're not happy, then I'm really not that happy. So, that's my role. I used to loathe it at times because it does require a lot of emotional energy. And then there was the reality that, like, they were never going to be able to return that emotional energy. And it's just not in their nature. But for whatever reason, it is in mine. And I had to be able to get over that. Like, yeah, it's going to be an uneven transfer of energy, and you got to be okay with that. It's like, yeah, that's just what happens. So, and it's like, would you rather be that person who's self-observant and self-aware? Right? I would rather be that person than like the person who's like selfish, a little, I don't want to say selfish, but they're a little bit more less willing to give their energy to stuff, but they're also completely and utterly unaware of themselves and the way they interact with their environments. And therefore, they actually end up expending energy and wasting energy on stupid stuff because of that lack of awareness. So it was like, yeah, we don't have any even energy transfer because you're wasting energy while I'm not. So you don't have enough energy to get back anyway. That's usually what happens. I see Joseph Betts said abandonment issues. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Let me know if you see it, if you hear this sometime, and I'll respond to that. I'm assuming it has something to do with the conversation we just had. What's my take on Tulsi days? Tulsi is the most disappointing. So Tulsi, I considered a friend. And a lot of our friendship was based in an idea, a value system that we both had. And it was, so I wasn't, if y'all remember in 2020, I actually wasn't going to openly support anybody. And actually, I was going to give the news, and I was supporting and cheering for Bernie and his policies and Tulsi and her policies. But I wasn't going to openly support anybody specifically because I just didn't want to. But it was my friendship with Tulsi that developed over time because of my respect for her. When I have respect for somebody, that's a different type of friendship. and I have respect for her. And whenever she would mess up, the respect that we had was I could call her, or I could text her and tell her like, nah, you got to run it back. And she was going to fix it. She wouldn't double down. And even if there was a miscue, I knew it was that. It wasn't a question of her integrity. Right. And which is like how I treat my friends. Like if my friends mess up, I don't like cut them off like this. And it is what it is. Some people didn't like that we were friends, but I'm like, well, nah, because Tulsi is somebody that we were in communication before she even started running for president. Whenever no one wanted to believe me about the election fraud, Tulsi heard about it in 2016 after leaving the DNC and all that stuff, and she actually introduced a bill to combat election fraud. So like, which is a big deal. Like for me as an election integrity activist, but also like, damn, she heard what I had to say. And she didn't care that it came from some senior at UNC that was running a Bernie organization. She was like, nah, this man knows his stuff. And she had that type of confidence in me. So this flip, when I tell you that shit hurt, because one thing I can't stand is when I see my friend be a different person. That's the beyond the politics. Politics, whatever. Her politics are trash now. But you went from being the counterculture candidate. You attacked both sides of the establishment. That was including Donald Trump. Whenever Donald Trump was trying to kill it, she's like, nah, bro, like you're being a warmonger too. You're repeating the same talking points. Don't try to pretend like we're the same. We're not. Now it's let me cape for Donald Trump and like she's trying to be his VP candidate. The way she speaks about Islam is clearly from her pro, because she's Hindu. So it's like this beef between Hindus and Muslims. And it's a very, very pro-Hindu bias that's cultivating this negativity towards Islam. The way she was right on so many issues, and I watched her evolution to being around those issues to all of a sudden flipping. Like, I'm like, yo, for me as a friend, people, like, that don't give me no confidence that you gonna have me if I got thrown under the bus, or if somebody like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like a bad sign. That means for me, what that signifies is that you don't know yourself. You don't know who you are. That's what, like, and I'm always gonna have love for her, and especially her family. Her family is sweet, right? Her husband's dope. Even Tulsi herself, outside of politics, is an amazing person. But when you flip like that, it's like you have an identity issue. And I know from friendship and from like just from my friendships, I'm a mirror. We're only going to be able to be friends for so long and be in front of each other for so long and talk to each other for so long before you start to see yourself, and then somehow I'm the problem because you don't want to admit it, that it's you, that you're the one who's changed. And eventually, Tulsi's going to have that talk with herself. Right now, I think that the election, I truly believe that the campaign was traumatizing for her, bro. If y'all want to see the stuff that she had to deal with, hear the things that she had to hear, go through what she had to go through, I was there for a lot of it. It was probably a traumatizing experience. Being attacked over and over again, being lied on, having your family lied on, having your family attacked. So whenever she said certain things, and now I'm getting cheers. Oh, if I go a step further, I'll get even more cheers. Oh, if I go a step further, even though if I don't necessarily believe this, I'll get even more. Oh, now I'm getting job offers. Now people are saying, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to keep saying what people want to say or want to hear. I'm going to now shape my identity around this because it makes me feel good after all that trauma I just got done experiencing. Because Tulsi is a person for her entire life, for the most part. You got to think about it. One of the youngest politicians in Hawaii's history, one of the brightest politicians in Hawaii's history, one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. Just talking about basic topics and philosophies of life. One of the youngest politicians in Congress at the time, DNC vice chair. Everywhere she's gone, she's for the most, even in the military, she's done well for herself. So like she's always kind of getting praised. And for the first time, she was being attacked by people that in her mind, like, hold on, I thought we agreed. Why are you attacking me? Because remember how many people were lying on her and attacking her, and they actually held the same positions as her. Remember the types of attacks she was in. So like it's like an overcorrection. And I'm not trying to insult her or anything like that. Like, but for me, it's obvious that like you had a psychological overcorrection due to the trauma you experienced from being attacked all the time. And this is the first time that this has happened to you. That level of attack every single day is a lot for anybody, bro. Where you're not used to it. And it's okay to just be like, I just wanted to feel love. That's it. I just wanted to be back on that side. Oh, damn, that's some good orange juice, man. Although what she did to Kamala during the debates was her shining moment. Hey, yeah, I ain't never going that. She'll always have a special place in my heart for that. Because that effectively stopped the Kamala Harris presidency. People forget Kamala was in first place at that point. Everybody forgets that. And then she went from first place to out of the race. So, you know. Trying to see if I miss anything pressing. Y'all don't forget, like I said, super chats. We're only on YouTube and Twitter right now. So super chats take precedence, and then whatever questions I feel are the most intriguing, I will respond to. Yeah, it's true though. What Anna said, Tulsi's just another hack now. And no, I can't give her that. That's almost like letting her off the hook. She's not another hack. She's a hack that a lot of people believed in. It's like Bernie level. For some people, Bernie's worse. For me, Tulsi's worse. Like Bernie, the history was there. He pretended to evolve, and then when you actually go back and look at legislation, you're like, damn, boy, you weren't really like that. Tulsi evolved and could explain to you how she came to that evolution, and then she just pretended like none of it ever happened. That's where I have disagreements with a lot of people where they always say, oh, this is who she always was. No, she wasn't. I know that for a fact, and that's what pisses me off even more. It's worse. People who think that she was like that always don't know her. That's what makes it worse. Reflect the Sun. Those were. I'm gonna go back to your other chat because I think that you sent them separately on accident. Those were big deals after calling out warmongers, addressing election integrity, stand up for Assange. It's heartbreaking. Agreed. Yeah. Like those were the issues for me. Those were the hell. She was even right on COVID after like she was wrong for maybe 2 months, and then like actually, this is kind of crazy now that I'm looking at the data, right? So Bernie betrayed. Bernie is a careerist. Bernie always wanted to be liked. He's kind of like in the same boat, but worse. Whatever he had to do to maintain perception, he was willing to do. And that's historic. It's just that we didn't know about it. A lot of people in Burlington did know about it, though. But even still, to be completely truthful, because of what he did for Burlington, they ignored a lot of his Senate behavior. But he, in Bernie Sanders' defense as mayor of Burlington, and hell, even to some degree as senator, he put in a lot of work for Burlington. So they like looked the other way when it came to his antics in the Senate, right? Like the fact that he did oppose the war in Iraq, but he actually did not oppose the war in Afghanistan, even though a lot of his people wanted him to. Obviously, the Kosovo things, like we don't talk about that. But for domestic policies and local policies, he looked out for Burlington. But that's who he was, man. He's a careerist who wants to be remembered. He doesn't, what did he say? He doesn't want to be remembered as, what did Chris Hedges just say? He doesn't want to be Ross Perot, I want to say it was. Like he doesn't want to go down in history as being remembered as like Ross Perot. It's like, it's no like, which is like, why are you worried about your legacy? as Bernie Sanders, rather than the legacy that you leave behind via your policies, your advocacy, and your efficaciousness. Doubt. I care more about that than anything else. I wanted like people to, man, y'all know how Niko, as long as people always remember the DNC fraud lawsuit, which they do, I will always feel like that's remembering Niko. That's what Niko stood for. If you understand if you understand the importance of the DNC fraud lawsuit, then you understand everything about me. There's not really anything more you need to know. And that's what I would prefer. But that's not Bernie Sanders. Fred, what's going on, man? Suggestions on preparing for most enlightening, successful experience for self-reflection and emotional healing. Ooh. Woo, boy, that was a loaded question. You got all $5 out of that one. Shit. Okay, hold on. Man. Oh, is it Ralph Nader? It was Ralph Nader. My bad. Suggestion for preparing for the most. First of all, do it on a full moon. Oh, he's talking about cogumelos, shrooms, by the way. Do it on a full moon if you can. It is worth I'm talking about, a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, if you need to take 2 days off in a row, go ahead and do that. Because that second day, you still gonna be thinking about what happened to you the day before, if you do it on a full moon. Don't do it don't start it at night. I know that sounds weird, but the transition from daytime to evening is very important when you're doing shrooms. And my assumption is, what the universe told me while I was on shrooms, is that because your perspective is like night and days, your perspective on the world changes. Right? Things that are not scary in the daytime are terrifying at night to some people. The way you see your neighborhood in the daytime is not the same way you see it at night. The best example you could give for anybody probably is New York City. New York City in daytime is a wonder. New York City at night is a completely and totally different wonder. But it's the same city. So there are some perspectives that you can only, if you are doing shrooms for perspective, because there are people who just do them and to look at cool colors and be outside, which is a distraction. I know that sounds silly when I say when people say everything's a distraction, but being outside exclusively while you're doing shrooms is a distraction. Don't do it because your senses are overwhelmed. And it doesn't feel like you're being well, it depends on who you are. But generally speaking, it doesn't feel like you're overwhelmed. What it feels like is like, oh, I'm just experiencing all this cool stuff. Yeah, which means you're not experiencing your own thoughts. Everything is intensified and that's cool. It looks cool. But if you're alone, then you have your own thoughts and those are intensified. And you need that to break through whatever you're trying to get through. So the things that you're willing to perceive in the daytime are not the same things you're willing to perceive at night. And that's why it's important to have the actual transition. You will set your intention before you start. And understand it's very, very important to do so. If you just go in there flying off right. So for me now, when I take them, I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. Because I've already had all my questions. And unless it's something very specific going on in my life, which at the moment is not. But generally, I'm like, whatever happens, happens now, which has its own positive results. But the first, y'all have to understand, I'm about 30 trips in at least. I've been doing them since 2020. And I've done from all of about 2020 and 2021, I've done them at least once a month. More, usually at least twice. So 2022, I did them also at least once a month. 2023, the only reason I did is I was traveling back and forth and all that good stuff. But in Brazil, before my kid was born, I was still doing, because in Brazil, they're legal. So them first about 10 times. I know that sounds like a lot. People are like, what the hell? How are you going to do? You better go to Matrix Gen X. Somebody put y'all know, some of y'all know, some of y'all get it from the same people. They got some good ones. And I personally don't recommend chocolate at first. Actually, I know that sounds silly. Hear me out. Because most of the time, the penis envy strain of shrooms will not have the same effect in chocolate. Also, it's just like to mask the taste, because mushrooms in general, I actually hate mushrooms with a passion, which is hilarious. But anyway, the way you do them is to grind them up in a blender first. And then you put in strawberry yogurt, strawberries, bananas, because the banana actually activates the DMT or the psilocybin even more. People don't know that, but it's true. I've tested it personally. And I put in a little bit of strawberry Fanta for taste, and then a little bit of orange juice, because orange juice also helps. The reason why bananas help, by the way, is because potassium C is actually one of the most important vitamins for your neurological system. People don't know that, which is a different conversation for a different day. But yes, so mix it and make it into a smoothie. So now you're not wasting any of the shrooms, generally speaking, or you're basically not wasting it, and you're releasing the I won't call them chemicals because not chemicals, but you're releasing the basically all the particles. You know, people get high off of the stems, people get high off of but like all of that is in your smoothie, all of it. And you can drink it fast as hell, or you can drink half of it and save it, do whatever. Some people drink half and save, and depend on the person. But that is the best, because some people wonder how I've taken half of an ounce. That was how. I'm not about to eat half of an ounce of goddamn mushrooms. You lost your mind. I don't eat mushrooms regularly. Yeah, no. So the first time I did it with orange juice, would never do it again, bro. I couldn't drink orange juice again for 2 months because of how nasty that shit was. I heard about the tea. It was like, nah. Then while I was doing shrooms, that's whenever the universe was like, hey, man, you love smoothies. And you know that orange juice, because of your affinity for tequila and orange juice, that, orange juice will take away that taste that you hate. I was like, oh my God. Yes, I have done half of an ounce. I have achieved what is known in the shroom community as ego death. And not like fake people who say like, oh, I achieve ego death. No, you'll know if somebody achieved ego death. Yeah. And I achieved it in the middle of a very trying period in my life, which is probably the best time to try to do it. But it also, there are people who say the smoke, like don't smoke at the beginning of your shroom trip. Don't do that, because you know that'll actually bring you down. When you're already in the middle of your high, it's good, like way down the line, but like don't do it at the beginning. A lot of people do that at the beginning, and it's not a good thing. So so set your intention. I prefer to do it through smoothies. And also I don't throw up. So I've never thrown up during shrooms. And I'm assuming that's because of the smoothie. So I'm assuming that has partly to do with it. Because they tell you don't eat before you do them, but whenever I have it with the smoothie, I've never even had the sensation of wanting to throw up. So yay, because that would suck. Some people do get that, and I feel bad for them. But throwing up probably is cooler because you get, like, when you throw up, you actually get higher. So I've never experienced that, but I've heard it's crazy. So yeah, set your intentions. I would do it through a smoothie. I would make sure, I know it sounds kind of weird, but movies are important. What you have on the television is important. You can sit by yourself. If you're by yourself specifically, don't just sit in silence with your own thoughts by yourself. Because usually if you choose a movie, there's a reason you chose a movie. Don't do some cliche shit like, oh, Alice in Wonderland on shrooms would be cool. Alice in Wonderland on shrooms is the most boring shit ever. You realize, like, I started wondering why this movie was such a classic. That's how, like, boring that shit was. You know what was lit on shrooms? Fucking Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. When I tell you that movie will have me, I was like, this movie is dark as shit. Why is this a kid's movie? Why are they showing this in school? Like, I remember, like, good God, that movie was so cool on shrooms. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. So, like, don't do, like, stereotype shit. Cartoons on shrooms are actually not that cool. Some are. It depends on the animation. But, like, some cartoons... Well, you know what was hilarious, bro? I watched Across the Spider-Verse, so the second Spider-Man cartoon movie. And it just looked exactly the same, which is hilarious. Because if you see the movie, like, you would understand what I mean. Like, it's got the damn movie animation is basically a shroom trip. So like when I was watching it, I was laughing my ass. I'm like, yo, this is hilarious. And I'm like, wow, because it look exactly the same. Like, damn, that's crazy. You know how impressive that is? Personally, for me, my go-to. So now when I do shrooms, which is hilarious, I had what I thought was on the midst of being a bad trip. Now I say bad trip, I mean uncomfortable, like with anxiety. And now I don't believe there's a such thing as bad trip, by the way. But for me, it was very, very unique because I never felt anxiety while doing shrooms, ever, like ever. My pupils don't dilate, which is a whole different conversation. Never felt anxiety while doing shrooms. I'm not like one of those paranoid people who get scared of stuff. Like the weirdest thing that happens to me is all of a sudden I get really cold, even if it's hot as hell. So like at least for me, like my thermostat rather, it gets a little bit off. Then I'll start sweating. So that's about it. But this for particular time, bro, I'm like tripping. I'm like, what the hell? What was up? We were watching something, maybe Avatar, something like that. I think we were watching Avatar. And I'm like, and when I like one deep breath is like I'm good. That's actually a good. People always act like if I take a deep breath, like if I'm mad about something, I'm like, no, actually, it's just me breathing because like I'm happy that I have clear breath. I know that sounds weird, like I can breathe clearly, but yeah, that's what I was doing. Like I'm happy to be here. 2 deep breaths. That's my relax. I'm like relaxing now. That because just breathing is a good thing, right? For those of you who want to relax, I know that sounds stupid, but take a deep breath. Even like when you're about to relax, just take a deep breath and like hold it and then exhale. And you'll feel way more relaxed. So, but if I do it like 2 or 3 more times after that, there's a problem because it means that it's not working probably. And my girl asked me, what's wrong? I'm like, yo, I don't know why, but I think I have anxiety. She's like, what? You don't ever get anxiety on stream. I know what's like, I'm confused. So we're going through all the steps now. Like, okay, what do we do? Okay, we're where we normally sit. All my animals are good. None of my animals are acting anxious because sometimes that will make me anxious. One of my animals is acting anxious. Like everything's good. What? So okay, I got the window shut because sometimes if I can hear what's going on outside, that bothers me. It never give me anxiety, but it bothers me because it will affect the way I'm perceiving what's going on inside. Nothing. Then I realized it was a fucking movie. It was because my girl wanted to watch Avatar first. Not because of because of the trip before, we watched it at the end of the trip and it was like the best experience ever. So in her mind, I want to do this again right now instead of waiting. And I was acquiescing to that request because we usually always watch one movie in the beginning, and I'm gonna tell y'all in a second, and y'all gonna laugh for those of you who know me. And some of you could probably guess in the chat what it was. But I was just acquiescing her request. Like, yeah, we go watch Avatar. We're gonna get to whatever I want to watch anyway, and so it's not a big deal. And also, I had a great time watching it too. Did not realize watching this damn movie, or rather, what I chose not to watch at the beginning, was affecting my process of being high on shrooms. And then and about maybe an hour after that, she realized, why the hell do I have anxiety? I don't really get anxiety until about 3.5 hours in. So now we're both like, what the fuck is going on? Then we're like, Guardians. It's because we didn't start off with Guardians 2. And for me, the music in Guardians soothes me. First of all, so there's the music and I know it sounds silly, but if you understand your thoughts, like for me personally, I love music because music is a big part of tripping for a lot of people. So for me, the music in Guardians soothes me and also soothes her. And then the relationship dynamic between them is like, I don't know, the whole movie actually kind of keeps you like it's like a puppet, like you're a puppet on a string. It's like, by the end of it, you're like, how the hell did we get here? That's basically what it feels like. Like it's a long ass music video is what it feels like. So so when I turn on the movie, I was like, we both were like, that's what it was. Turn on the movie and because they're playing that, what's that damn song? Sandy? No, what is the song? We all know the song. Was it Sandy? Is it Sandy? You're a fine Oh, who is it? I feel like it's Sandy. You're a fine girl with a good life, a good wife you would be. Like that song, I cannot remember what that girl's name. I feel like it was Sandy. But when that song came on, I was like, oh, thank God. That's what it was. Brandy. I don't know why I wanted to say Sandy. I don't know why I want to say Brandy. See, y'all know, see my white friends. That's why you gotta have white friends, man. Y'all know the random white names in these songs that all sound the same. So that was what it was, bro. It was because we didn't watch Guardians first, and we had already established this process of, yeah, we're going to watch Guardians because that's what calms us, and that's what keeps us at peace, and that's what gets us through the first part of the trip. Yeah. Isn't that funny as hell? Like, I know it might not seem funny, but it was funny as hell because we were like tripping, bro. We were like, why do we feel like this? Because I know how I'm supposed to feel when I'm on shrooms. I don't care how high I've gotten. I know how I'm supposed to feel. I know how my high is supposed to feel. I know what I'm supposed to be worrying about. You know, I know how I'm supposed to be thinking. And I'm worried. I'm like, why do I feel like this? I can't think about anything if I'm feeling like this. What the hell? And that's what it was. And then you start to realize like the process of, you know, how some people, no, not some people, almost everybody, they binge watch things. So we started like having a whole conversation about that. Like, oh, this is probably why people binge watch shit. Like, because like it's a known quantity, because they know how it makes them feel. And like, and there's not a need to guess on how it's going to make you feel. That's also why I personally am apprehensive to watching new things now, because I don't like to waste my time. I don't like to watch an hour and a half of something or 2 hours of something to find out it was mid and I will never get those 2 hours back. I hate it. I think I've always been like that, actually, which is funny. But yeah, especially now, I'll refuse to do it. So you got to really have to get to where you got to get to, if you're doing shrooms for this reason, like to gain perspective. You got to really set your intentions. You have to have a process, and it has to be. I mean, I personally would do it with somebody that knows you the best, and that's okay with talking. If they've done it, even better. If y'all both have never done it, that's probably even better. To be honest, because it'll be both of you guys melting your ego for the first time and seeing each other for who you are. Also, I would suggest doing it with somebody who vibrates on the same frequency as you. Unfortunately, if you've never done shrooms, you might pick the wrong person. So be careful about that. You got to kind of know. I know who vibrated on the same frequency as me because I've done shrooms before. I invited that person, and because I wanted. The reason why is because the other person that vibrated on the same frequency as me, we did them, and we saw, even though we were having the same trip in different trips. She was way higher than me, even though we did the same amount. The experience that she was having was biblical. I don't know how to explain it. I'm talking about actively seeing different dimensions, like calling our reality weird, but being very descriptive. Her voice was the same person, but she wasn't talking like the same person. And when I say like her voice, so like she had the same voice, but like all of a sudden she was articulate, and she's not an articulate person. She's just not. She uses very few words to describe a lot of things. It's just that person she is. She was articulate. She was witty. She was clever. She was hilarious. I'm like, who are you? Where the fuck? Like, and it was hilarious. And she was aware. She was like, I'm hilarious. I didn't know I was this funny. Or maybe I always knew and I just didn't want to say anything because I was worried about the fear of rejection. Maybe you wouldn't think I was that funny. I was like, nah, you're hilarious. I don't know why the hell you don't talk like this more often. But then we hit another level. And everybody I've done shrooms with, they always hit this gear. They always hit a gear, and I don't hit the gear. I've hit it once. But there's a gear that you get to if you're doing them right and if you've done enough of them. That this is after the waves, because you start to see the vibrations of everything. So that happens. It's after that. It's after everything starts sounding cool. It's after everything is looking cool. There is this gear that you get to if you've taken enough. That reality, you start seeing the world, and your world too. I guess simultaneously, your world and the world through these windows, like reflecting. It's like a mirror that's reflecting back and forth over and over again, but it's also then like a window that you actually are seeing through, and the perspective is like this, and it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you also start seeing the codes that make up the universe, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Basically, the thing that so my assumption, no, not my assumption, what I was told during my little, every time I trip, I call it, it's like quantum processing. Like I'd be having conversations with, I guess, what people refer to as the 12th dimension. Like effectively, it's the knowledge, how like back in the day, gatherers knew, or herb healers knew what herbs to use that were that would heal you, and versus what was poison, things like that. Like that's where they got that knowledge from, because the world was a lot quieter back then. They were much more spiritually connected, and they understood how to use these plants to download. It's almost like booting up a hard drive. They knew how to boot up their own hard drive and download this information to be healers. Like that's where that's, call me crazy, but I know for a fact that's actually how all that went down. So I have that too. But it's like, I call it quantum processing. The level of processing that I do when I'm on shrooms is terrifying. It's awesome, but it's terrifying because I'm seeing so much stuff happen in real time. It's like predicting things. Then you start to be like, well, how the hell am I don't understand. How's my brain moving that fast? Because you get scared of yourself. You really do. Like if you can process as fast as I do on shrooms, because I process like that in real life, and it's like normal. But whenever it's on shrooms, it's like as fast as I've been known to process, it's amplified to a level that I can't explain. And that is what scares me, is I can't explain it. But that's also why they call me the shroom shaman, because I can help explain other people's problems. So that's awesome. But whatever helps me do that, I can't personally explain. Or now I kind of can, but back then it was terrifying. Every day after I tripped, I'm like looking, my friends who I would trip with are looking at me differently. Not in a bad way, but in this like, yo, who the fuck are you? How do you know all this stuff? How are you figuring this stuff out so quick? Why is your trip not the same as mine? Why is my trip, I'm in my own head, I'm into the movie, I'm into this, there would be situations, for example, where they're tripping and I'm telling them what they're thinking. They haven't said a single word. But I look at something on their face and I look at their aura like get darker or lighter, because I can see auras too. That was after the second trip. I'm like, oh, like, are you thinking about this, this, and this, and this? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that, because they're like, what the fuck? How did you even know that? So that was actually what made me start I was trying to figure myself out. That was one of the reasons I started doing shrooms once a month. I was trying to figure myself out now, because I'm like, why? That is a good damn question. Why? Because I did it with my best friend, did it with my girl, I did it with my other friend. I'm like, why is no one else having trips like this? And also, why are all of them, my best friend who's done shrooms many times before, why is he telling me, nah, bro, I've never tripped like with you? Nah, never, ever again or before. My trips with you are always different than everybody else. And everybody who's done trips with me tells me that. And so now I'm like, well, now I got to figure out what the hell that is. And I guess me being so inquisitive is how I end up where I end up a lot of the times. And that perspective, that window of perspective, it's so crazy how it just grows, but also shrinks at the same time. It grows in the scope of the perspective that I'm willing to engage in, but it also shrinks because now it's like it magnifies what's important and how to fix whatever, or how to see rather, whatever perspective I need to see in that grander, to make that picture a little bit bigger. So it's incredibly. I'm really thinking about pushing for international shroom day, for real, because it would be legal for me to do it here, because in Brazil it's legal. So if you chose to participate in it, you know, I feel like that's a big deal. I feel like if enough people did shrooms, at the same time, bro, it could be a percentage of the population. If enough people did shrooms at the same time, the amount of energy that would be the amount of malleable energy out there that could have an impact on the world would be insane. Because that energy that you do while you're on shrooms, like, the energy moves around you different in the room. I've seen it happen. I'm listening, y'all. This is not conjecture. I'm being dead ass serious with you. I've witnessed an energy ball, like some shit that you wouldn't even believe. I'm not exaggerating. This is not hyperbole. This is not one of them Joe Rogan DMT. Yeah, man. It's very abstract kind of concept. I'm being specific. I witnessed someone make an energy ball and then hand it to me. And hold it up to the TV. So I'm like, there's no way I'm looking at what I'm looking at. Hold it up to the TV so I can see that, like, it looks like I'm looking through a bottle. It doesn't look like I'm looking at the TV anymore. It looks like I'm looking through a bottle. And then throw it up in the air, and then like the room like looks like it's filling up with smoke, but it's energy. And I have to ask myself, like, did I just see that? She's like, no, you can do it. I'll show you. And it showed me how to do it. I'm like, how did you even figure out how to do that? She's like, oh, I don't know. I just knew. So, which is a whole different thing. I witnessed people do this, and their aura and their energy after that, because they were just compacting it, it pushes their hand back. I've witnessed it, actually multiple times. It is if you're doing it the right way and you're doing it on a full moon. I know some people are partial towards like acid or whatever. Nah, I mean, I'm not saying nah, like don't try it, like whatever. But I'm saying no, because shrooms has a specific goal. Acid is like, you get what you get. It's like an experiential thing. It's to affect your experience, and that's like the goal. It's to impact your experience on the world. That's not what shrooms go. Shrooms' goal is to melt your ego and to impact your perception of the world. Not your experience within it, but your perception of it. And although some people have a longer lasting perception of the world, or they have a different perspective and it lasts long after doing acid, it's not the same with shrooms. Shrooms will have you questioning everything you know about the world on some real, like, if you're doing it right, as if you're doing it right. Somebody said, Soul said just music. See, I'm not don't get me wrong, I've done it. I've done with just music. But the problem with music is that I feel like someone is there's too much of the telling me what's going on and what they're projecting onto me. Like, I can't deal with that. I don't like it. I'm like, these aren't even my problems. I don't care. So maybe that could be it. I've done instrumentals but that's after I watch the movies. Or if I like just get tired of the movie. But for me, I like to be engaged. I have ADHD, so all my senses kind of need to be engaged, but in a way that's like in a controlled environment. So like, and if you've ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that is probably the best way. If you have ADHD, you're gonna see colors, you're gonna hear the music that you need to hear, you're gonna hear like the dialogue is it's one of the few movies where the few Marvel movies, I should say, where it's a lot of silence while they're having the dialogue because of how important it is. Which sounds like a silly concept, like that isn't really that important until you're watching the movie on shrooms. You're like, oh shit, like everything is really quiet right now, and all we can hear is this. There's nothing distracting us. So can't do just music. I can't do it. But so here's what I do. And I don't give a damn if you're a Marvel fan or not. I promise you, if you're not, you will be if you do this very specific order of movies, you will be a Marvel fan. Maybe even just these two movies fan, but definitely probably a Marvel fan. My go-to is Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And you got to start it. Don't start it in the beginning of your trip. Don't start it like in the middle of your trip. After you finish taking whatever you take. I go on a walk right before, but take whatever you take and put on a movie, because you need to you need to gradually progress in your high before, like, as you're watching the movie, and like especially the first time you do it. Also, if you try to do it in the middle of your high, and like the beginning of Guardians will have your ass way too turned. Like, you'll be like, whoa, it's too much. So you kind of gotta hit you. You gotta ride the wave there. You gotta ride and let it carry you. After Guardians 2, if somebody wants to know why I watched Guardians 2 first, I can explain that too. But after Guardians 2, I actually watched Infinity War. I watched Avengers Infinity War. Which, by the way, Jesus Christ, that movie is so goddamn good on shrooms. And everybody looks like your brain all of a sudden accepts that all of these aliens are real and they look the part. It is wild. It is crazy. The reason why I watch Infinity War, other than the fact that it is an absolutely amazing movie, and Thanos himself is, once again, we had this conversation the other day. Thanos is the GOAT. Thanos is the best supervillain ever. But the reason why I watch Infinity War is because of Guardians 2, actually. Because Guardians 2, if it's a new movie every time you watch it, Guardians 2 is a new movie every time you watch it from a different perspective. It's a new movie every time. Because if I watch Guardians 2 from Star-Lord's perspective, now I'm seeing mommy issues. I'm seeing, obviously, his relationship with Ego, his dad, his relationship with Yondu, who's actually his dad, the problem with his relationship with Yondu and how he didn't even realize that Yondu actually saw him as a son, even though Yondu thought it was obvious. Like, bro, what do you mean I be protecting your ass? I be defending you. Like, how do you not know that? And Star-Lord, all he sees is like, you're just trying to control me and you abducted me. His perception was, you're my abductor. Yondu was like, I saved your ass. What are you talking about? And then you watch it from, which no one ever wants to do, which is weird, but Kraglin's perspective. Nobody even realized there's a whole dynamic between Kraglin and Quill, which is Kraglin hates Quill. And it isn't because of Quill, it's because Yondu is always protecting Quill like the little brother. And Kraglin is like, bro, I do everything you tell me to, and you don't give me that kind of love and respect. What the hell? So it's like the jealous brother thing going on. And it's even funnier because Sean Gunn, who plays Kraglin, is James Gunn's brother. So there's probably that dynamic is probably an active part of their life. So then you watch from the perspective of Gamora herself, then Gamora and Nebula, then Gamora and Star-Lord, then Gamora and Groot, which is wild because you actually come to realize that, oh shit, Quill has mommy issues, and Gamora only ends up falling for Quill to the degree she does because Groot becomes baby Groot and she has to raise him. And so all of a sudden her maternal instincts kick in, which is actually what pushed her towards Peter, because Peter has this need for maternal love. Right? Okay. And then you fast forward to Guardians 3, their relationship never rekindles to be what it is. In fact, it's the total opposite. Quill can't, and if you listen to the conversation that Quill has with Gamora in Guardians 3, he's saying, I need you. I know what you could be. I know who you were. I want, we were. And not one time he actually asked about, yo, are you actually happy with what's going on as a Ravager? How's your life going? Not one time was he concerned with that, just what she could do for him emotionally because of his mommy issues. But the problem is that version of Gamora never raised baby Groot. So the maternal instinct isn't there. So the attraction that caused Gamora and Star-Lord to be together also isn't there. So there's a big thing in Guardians 3 that no one actually realizes, which is hilarious. The whole movie. So they always do the thing with Groot, everybody acts like they understand what he's saying. Okay, whatever. But in Guardians 3, they exaggerate it, and every time Groot says something, they make it this super long and complex sentence that only Gamora can't understand. And that's supposed to be ironic. It's like reminding you all, she raised this Groot. This version of Groot, Gamora raised since a baby. And she's the only person now who can't understand him. And that's why, at one point, she even laughs. She jokes and says, "You guys are just making up stuff that he's saying, aren't you?" Because remember, whenever they flew off of what's his name ship, and they're like, "How did you even escape?" He's like, "Well, he said I'm Groot," which signifies, "Oh yeah, I jumped out, made a parachute or some wings with my branches, and we landed." And basically, it's like a whole sentence, a whole story based off of one "I am Groot." And Gamora's like, "What the fuck? How do you even understand?" But that's supposed to be it's a bigger deal than what a lot of people realize it is. They just laugh at it like, of course she doesn't understand. Who understands Groot? But Her not understanding Groot is the reason she doesn't understand Quill, because she didn't raise Groot. So she doesn't have the maternal instinct. So the maternal instinct never pushed her towards being the mother figure that made Quill fall in love with her and made her fall in love with Quill. So I love Guardians because of the different perspectives. And then that's actually what made me watch Infinity Wars, because I don't give a damn what nobody says. One of the most impressive things about Infinity War is the fact that you have all these big name superheroes and these big name celebrities on top of all that. And they're all in different places having different experiences, but all their experiences are actually just as equally important to the grand story. And you're constantly going back and forth between all of them and somehow keeping the story together without it feeling like it's cluttered. In fact, the switching between the stories is so impressive that it literally keeps you in the movie. You're like, bruh, every time you're like, and then they do this very impressive thing. I don't know if it's a film thing in general, but I noticed it for the first time in Infinity War. What they would do is when they're about to switch to a scene to keep you like involved in what's happening next, or to make you care rather, is to stick around mentally for what's happening next. They bring up something from what's about to happen in the next scene. So for example, the best example I could think of for those of you who've seen Infinity Wars is that which is actually my favorite part of the whole fucking movie, besides the very beginning of it, that's my favorite part of the movie, is whenever this motherfucker Thor comes in. So they're flipping back and forth between Thor getting Stormbreaker and them fighting this war, but they're getting their asses handed to them. And Thor is kind of like getting his, like getting burnt alive, trying to force Stormbreaker. And Thor almost dies, and they're almost about to die. But then Groot comes in, he finally starts paying attention, and he actually brings Stormbreaker together, which is a whole different thing. So that actually brought both of those scenes together, because when Thor gets Stormbreaker, he jumps into the scene because they're flipping back and forth between him getting Stormbreaker and them fighting in Wakanda. So then he comes through with the Bifrost because of the Stormbreaker being put together. Literally, the two halves were put together. And they were put together by Groot, and he lands, and then he's like, bring me Thanos, and he's busting everybody's ass. But then what happens is he says, bring me Thanos, and then the next scene is Thanos walking through a portal on Titan as if he's walking towards you. Yeah, like that type of shit. That type of shit was like this. I'm like, the way they did this goddamn movie is so impressive that there should be the unfortunate reality is Infinity War. So Guardians in general, Infinity War, probably Endgame to some degree, but I know like Endgame had a different. So it's not a joke, it's real. But I would say if you pay attention, if you're a Marvel fan or MCU fan specifically, you understand Infinity Wars it's actually the original Guardians 3, and Endgame was Ant-Man 3, because Infinity Wars is actually the whole movie is actually shit. If you got to think about it, guys, if Guardians did not become the most popular team of the MCU, no one would care about Infinity Wars. Because why the fuck do you care if Thanos decided to throw Gamora off of a cliff? Why do you even care about why do you care about Gamora and Star-Lord's relationship in that whole scene? Like, yeah, we care about Groot, but Groot's kind of just being teenage Groot. So he's kind of like, oh, like, why would you even care that Thor and the Guardians find each other, or that weird dynamic that they had together, right? Why would you care about any of that shit? Why, bro, I promise you, when I was in the theater, I was there probably like a lot of y'all, like I was 11:30 show. I was 11:30 p.m. the night before the show actually released show. That's what I was on. And I remember whenever Guardians flies in and the entire theater erupts like screaming because they're so happy that the Guardians entered into the movie. And I'm like, yo, okay, I like Guardians. This is before I saw Guardians 2, actually, believe it or not. And I was like, yo, I love Guardians 2, but god damn. Like, I didn't know that they were like this. But that's James Gunn. And then also the Russo brothers being smart enough to be like, we have to wrap this story around the Guardians. That's the only way that they're going to remain interested. Because Thor has his own arc to go through, but we can't use Captain America like we want to, because we can't have a dominant storyline of Captain America, Tony Stark, and Thor. We can't do it. Like it wouldn't work. And Star-Lord and Doctor Strange. You can't do it because there's this understood rule of, some of y'all may know this, I just learned about it, but there's an understood rule that is actually constantly made a joke. When two alpha male white guys walk into a room and they're in a room full of, like, let's just say minorities of some kind, marginalized group of some kind, like let's just say they're the only American white guys or British white guys even in the room together. They're going head to head to see who's the alpha in that room every single time, because they know that the world perceives them as like the top of the social and economic food chain. That's the way that the world perceives them, because that's what we've been conditioned to believe. So whenever two of them get in the same room, for example, whenever Doctor Strange met Tony Stark, they immediately were beefing. Immediately. Had no reason to. If anything, Bruce and Tony should have been beefing, because, you know, Bruce kind of just like disappeared and whatever. But no, they're like, nope, he's not the alpha. He's too short. Also, Bruce is kind of made to be a beta, right? So like Tony Stark is an alpha. It's just his whole character. Doctor Strange is an alpha. That's his whole character. We got to beef it out now to figure out who's the alpha. So then Thor and Chris and Star-Lord meet. We got to beef it out to figure out who's the alpha. Every time it's going to be a scene with just them going at it. Whenever Doctor Strange, Star-Lord, and Tony Stark all meet, and like it's the first time all three of them, they're all kind of like, they're all just arguing with each other. And it's hilarious. And it's just, and like, but the Guardians are standing behind him. You get what I'm saying? Like, it couldn't be Spider-Man at this moment because he's too young. You know, and Iron Man is his mentor. So like, they're like, it's just Tony and Star-Lord arguing, and they're just like having each other's backs. They're just having their backs. They're protecting their alpha, basically. It's hilarious. And I'm like, and I asked my half-white friend, I said, hey, bro, is this a thing? What the fuck? Why does this happen in every scene? Or why does it happen every time one of these? He said, oh, yeah, no, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. And then he reminded me, he was like, you remember one of those last scenes in Great Gatsby. He's like, when they both know that they're fucking the same women. Like, they both know, like they're both there to try to win Daisy. But the goal is to pretend like you don't care, but also act as machismo as possible to show that you're the most manly one in the room. And basically it's to see who breaks first. He's like, yeah, no, that's a thing. Because I've never understood that scene, really. I was like, what is this all about? That's kind of silly. I guess I can understand Daisy being scared, but like, I don't get why this is such a big deal in the movie. And then after watching that on Infinity Wars on Shrooms, and have my friend who's half white explain, his dad's white, so he knows. He explains like, yeah, no, it's a thing. It's a thing. And I'm like, that get Great Gatsby. Because I did not get that shit at first. I'm like, why would this, but just beat his ass, or just run, or just take Daisy and go. Like, what are you even getting this hype? But in the movie, he's like, yeah, so Gatsby is inherently aware of what is happening. And that's why he entertains it. And he's like, and what's his name? Callahan, I think is his name. I can't remember his name. Callahan, something like that. He's like, he knows this game because he says, I like how he's always said, we're different. He's like, bro, I've been playing this game my entire life. You just got here. And he said he used that to, they're like, I'm like, now I get it. I said, but y'all white people crazy. I was like, that's basically the conclusion I got of that. I was like, y'all fuckers are crazy. And it's what was the craziest part about the whole thing. And like, what's wild about these scenes is that y'all all know this. These white people got an agreement, and they're all the white guys. They're like, yep, we know. That was a joke for them. They had their own little joke in the movie that probably only they got. Like, yep, here they go. We know how this is gonna go. Because we're the white guys and everybody else has to listen to us, and it's just understood, and we understand it and they understand it, but no one has to tell them because they already know. Yeah, man. And then I watch Endgame. So I watch Infinity War, and then I watch Endgame. And then if you have enough time, if you did it on a full moon, you will definitely be tripping for at least 7 or 8 hours. So you will have enough time. So I watch Guardians 2, Infinity Wars, Endgame, and then Avatar. Personally, I prefer now to watch Avatar, the second one, which I did not like at first. No, I can't. I don't know. I won't say I didn't like it. I liked it. I was confused about it. I was pissed actually about it. I was like, why isn't Tiri talking more? Like, she's the actual Avatar. I'm like, what's up with this fucking hero complex, white savior complex thing continuing? Because that was my problem with the first Avatar movie. It's like, once again, how did the guy with the mixed blood with the weaker species end up being bigger and stronger than all of them? Right? That was a weird thing for me. But then I got offered a different perspective. They're like, yeah, like I get why you're upset, but like it's not about Natiri. She was like, the movie isn't about Natiri or about Jake. But I still, for me, I wish that I'm like Natiri, like the first one, I understood it being about Jake's perspective, but he doesn't understand this world, and they're in a situation now where they're completely switching like, so the first movie is about him leaving his home, becoming part of them, and saving their people, helping to save their people after becoming one of them, right? So now the second movie is about Natiri being forced to leave her home for the first time, having her kids, her family for the first time, assuming this role that she had, and then leaving all that and going to a different group of people. So it's kind of like the same experience. So why isn't Natiri talking? Also, I prefer Zoe Saldana as an actor, or actress rather. So, but outside of that, it was shown to me. She was like, well, it's the daughter that's the biggest deal. I was like, well, yeah, I know she's a big deal, but she's like, no, you need to watch the movie again on shrooms. I was like, okay, whatever. Anytime somebody says watch it on shroom now, I'm like, well, I'm going to reserve my judgment until then. So I watched it from the perspective of the daughter, not the one who came from Grace, the Immaculate Conception daughter. Okay. And I'm like, oh, this whole movie is really about her. That's crazy. And it doesn't seem like it's about her. It seems like it's the whole family. But it's, for example, Jake is just so even with his relationship with his kids, like he has a different relationship with all of the kids. But also, it's weird because he doesn't really talk to the girls. I don't know if y'all realize that. He doesn't actually talk to the girls. He only talks to them when it's time to protect them. He's like, go get them. Stop doing this. Stay here. That's it. There's never any real, but the weird part is Natiri doesn't actually talk to, I can't remember her name. The oldest sister, the Grace's daughter that they adopted. Natiri doesn't really talk to her either. She's protective over Took, and she talks to the boys, like basically, which is listen to your dad is all she says. But the adopted daughter is just like this figure that is like being protected all the time. You get what I'm saying? She's not like, it's a weird type of like, yeah, she's clearly family and they see her as family. Like literally they get into a whole fight to defend her, but they don't actually understand her. The only kid who actually understands her is, funny enough, the human, which is why they have their own little thing. But the family itself, the dynamic always shifts specifically around her. And then if you notice, like she was like sitting underwater for a ridiculous amount of time, like she could breathe water, and she was watching Awa do stuff, like, and then like Wow. Okay, guess we're back. That was weird as hell. Man, what is going on today? See, this is why we're drinking Mimosa. Can I get a refill while we're doing that? I'm gonna get a refill. About 30 more minutes. Hold on. Hold on. I'm still here. Still here. I gotta get. I'm not weird. I just hit the Mimosas. I mean, his orange juice that we're calling mimosas. We don't really drink mimosas on camera, right? Right. Yeah, we're here. We back. All right. I didn't realize that Avatar was a scary topic for the deep state. What the hell was that about? That's crazy. Mm, man, who knew? Right? Good God. Oh, weird. But in all seriousness, for Avatar 2, like it's revolved around. I wish I could remember her name. I gotta look it up now. It's gonna bother the hell out of me. The Way of the Water. No, not The Last Airbender, even though that movie's amazing too. Or show. And of course, I'm getting Brazilian results when I want American results. Why wouldn't I? Because that's how my life is going right now. English, there we go. Refresh. England. So I gotta figure out her name, y'all. It's bothering the hell out of me. Kiri is her name. Jesus Christ, that was an ordeal. Kiri, not Zoe. Zoe Saldana is Zoe Saldana. But the adopted daughter's name is Kiri, and the movie actually revolves around her. But it doesn't look like it revolves around. It doesn't look like it revolves around her because of the way that James Cameron tells the story. I actually think that James Cameron. So y'all, I think that if I'm not mistaken, James Cameron has only ever directed Titanic and Avatar. If I'm not don't quote me on that, but like, I feel like that's supposed to be his whole thing, right? James Cameron, and like that's all he's ever won. I feel, and maybe I'm missing one. Oh, Terminator, the Alien films, Titanic. Okay, yeah. So it's Piranha 2. I don't think that's actually his movie, really. I think he was a co-director. Oh no, it was written by James Cameron. Oh no, it was directed. It was directed. That's crazy that was 1981. I don't think we're gonna count that. But he was Terminator, Aliens, and Avatar and Titanic. So he doesn't have a lot of movies, which is weird to say about James Cameron, but because apparently he's super selective with the type of movies that he's willing to work with. But there's some plot. He has plot holes in his movies that a lot of times get overlooked because of the amount of effort he puts into like the rest of the movie. But his storytelling is interesting. His directing is like I'm not a fan of the white savior thing in Avatar 1, but apparently my friend has a theory that it's going to all come full circle with Kiri. Like he's not actually the savior. Like Jake isn't actually the savior because like obviously the things that he did are actually making the problems even worse. But for Kiri in her immaculate conception, the fact that so like in the first movie, Iowa dropped that little flower seed thing, and it was like remember she dropped it on Jake's gun or Jake. No, she dropped it. Iowa, the planet, dropped this little seed on Natiri's. So Zoe Saldana's character, her bow and arrow to show that Jake is like really important. But with Kiri, they were like, she was swarmed in them while she was asleep, and they just kind of like wave it off like it's not a big deal. You get what I'm saying? So like it was like they did it on purpose. Like, yeah, y'all remember how important Jake was, and he had like one land on him. Like, yeah, she swamped in him, and they just kind of don't say anything. So the tree sees, if I'm not mistaken. So then as the movie progresses, she's learning how to breathe underwater. She has the planet show her the way out of their ship whenever her parents were drowning. She literally had the planet light the way to the exit, which is crazy. Like, she's in control of everything on the planet. And no one is actually realizing this. And it still doesn't get brought up because by the end of the movie, the focus is on the death of Jake's son. So the fact that she's like breathing underwater, basically, that she used the planet to guide the family out of the ship they're about to drown, like, and all this other stuff that she could do, it never gets addressed, which like that also bothered the hell out of me at first. But then I'm like, oh, it'll probably get addressed in the third one. Did you just say that John Carter is an underrated movie? So you gotta get off now. You gotta get off. We're not. I was pissed as hell. I spent an hour and a half watching John Carter, expecting that motherfucking movie to get better, and it was horrible. It was horrible. John Carter was a horrible movie with great graphics, and that was like where they learned, oh man, this CGI thing is dope, but maybe let's use it on a good movie next time. My friend convinced me to watch John Carter. And, every time I see him, I remind when he's like, what you want to put on TV? Yeah, you know what? I ain't trying to watch fucking John Carter. That's what I'm not trying to watch, I'll tell you that. Fucking John Carter. Wow, pissed. You just said you'd watch John Carter over Avatar. So look, man, you gonna be one of those guys? Are you like one of them? Are you the contrarian in the life of you and your friends? Are you the contrarian guy, the counterculture? Like, you think that good movies are bad and bad movies are good? Like one of those people that hates Forrest Gump? Oh man. But anyway, the point that I'm glad that person asked me about the best setting to do shrooms in, because I do talk about it a lot, and I say that you should do it, but it is important to know that like the setting to do it in, and like it helps to have a guide through the process. If you can't really do it, if you can't do it with somebody who actually has done it before. So yeah, that was y'all know, like when I first did shrooms, my whole point of doing them was actually because I wanted to I felt like I was missing something. I was like, I'm missing something. And it wasn't work stuff. Work stuff I felt like I was great at. It actually couldn't have been going better at this point in my life. And I was at the peak of popularity that I've been at. Like, I'm on, going to Politicon and like VIP at Politicon. I was paid to go type shit. Like, I was like probably the most known I had ever been. Family was doing okay. Nobody was struggling. Everything was good. But I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something. And I couldn't explain what it was. But it was actually affecting my mood all of a sudden. And my friend was like, you need to do shrooms. I was like, I don't do that shit. I don't mess with that. He's like, nah, bro. Like, I know, like, because he knows I'm like, I was really big. I'm like, if it wasn't weed, I don't like it. I want to touch it. My Adderall I have to take because otherwise I wouldn't survive in this world. But anything other than weed, I would not touch it at all. Acid, none of that. He was like, but nah, bro, like it's different. It's natural. I'm like, okay, whatever. You sold me on the natural part. So, and then somebody said, well, why don't you try acid? I'm like, no, that's not it. And I knew, like, something in my soul told me, nope, it's not acid. That's not what I need. But when he's shrooms, and then what happens is my friend coincidentally out of nowhere, because I'm like, he told me that, and I accepted, like, yeah, okay, if I do anything, maybe it will be shrooms. Like the next day, my homeboy was like, yeah, man, if you know somebody that needs shrooms, I got my friend sells them. Like, what the first of all, why would you even tell me that? Like, that's random as hell, because everybody knows that I don't do anything. I didn't do anything like that. So I was like, well, yeah, actually, coincidentally enough, I do. So after that first trip, that like changed my life, changed my perspective, changed my life. I was like, yo, this doesn't seem like a bad thing. I don't understand. But then my first question actually was, why do people do shrooms outside? That was like one of the first questions I asked myself. It's like, it's stupid. Why would you do them at a concert? That's stupid. Why would you want to be around all that negative energy? Because like that's the thing that I remember being so cognizant of is how much I could feel other people's energy. When I had to walk across the street to get some Subway because I was hungry as hell, like mid-trip, like 3.5 hours in. When I tell you guys, boy, that was the wildest 25 steps that I have ever taken in my life. I had to cross the street. I had to talk to the person. I had to talk to the server or the lady who makes it. Bro, that shit was crazy. I still laugh about it because when I tell you, like, and then this is when they started the scooters, the automatic scooters, right? It happened to be the same day. So I woke up in the morning, wasn't on shrooms, no scooters on the road. Mid-shroom trip, highest I've ever been, and all these new electric scooters are on the road. And I'm like, were these here before we got high? Or like, am I imagining this? No, I'm not that high. Yeah, it was hilarious, but it was like one of those perfect storm type of situations. It really was. But that was like, it was the thing that I needed actually. One of the reasons that I started becoming more spiritual was because I'm like, the only way that I could have known that was what I needed is if something in like more. So not only was that what I needed, but also I knew exactly what I didn't need. That too, which is probably sometimes more important, right? I knew what I needed, I knew what I didn't need, and like that changed my life after. I'm like, damn, maybe there's more of the spirituality thing I need to give, stop, because I'm a logical person. Everybody knows that. But what was crazy is as I did more shrooms, I actually became, you would think that one will become less logical as they do psychedelics, and that actually becomes the opposite. I became hyper logical. Like it was a level of logic. Like I'm not believing shit unless there's logic applied to it. Because everything that I can logic my way to everything on shrooms. If the conclusion is legitimate, there's logic to get there. Astrology, it was easy as hell for me to explain astrology on shrooms. I'm like, oh, that's easy. Y'all don't get it because y'all thinking about it from this perspective, and it's a skewed perspective that's probably based off of the same people who told you that psychology was bullshit. Remember that whole thing? Everybody forgets psychology was dumb and stupid, and how could that's a pseudoscience, and that can't really help anybody. Nobody believed in brain chemistry and things like that until they could weaponize it against you. And then all of a sudden, psychology was super important to put one people in a certain class and another people in another class. So it's like that. That's like the best explanation I can give as to why why there would be an effort to act like astrology is unimportant. I'm like, yeah, if I was using astrology to get an advantage over the rest of the world as an elite, why would I act like it's important? That's the opposite of how that goes usually, right? So, and then the simplest explanation you can give is the sun, when it's out, it makes you feel energized. Obviously, like if you're deprived of the sun for too long, it actually causes problems for your body. We all know all that. Literally your sun intaking, or your eyes intaking sun helps to prevent cancer, helps to prevent specifically skin cancer. I don't know if y'all know that. That's a fact. So like, that's how important one star is with that level of energy. So like imagine getting hit with a very specific amount of energy from an infinite or at least an immeasurable amount of energy from a bunch of different stars in a very specific orientation. That would affect the way you process chemically for the rest of your life, because your brain chemistry is affected by like the energy of a star. That's just been proven. Like that's why the sun is so important, right? The sun gives life. So it's not, and then the way constellations are set up, the cycles of constellations are basically the same over and over and over again. So like, yeah, it would make sense that we could be categorized into different groups of how we process things. It's not crazy. It's actually super logical that like, yeah, well, why would it, you're trying to tell me that all Geminis would, also, why is it, if astrology is bullshit, right? Why is it that whenever somebody hears, yeah, man, so she's a Gemini, Hey, bro, you trying to tell me every single person has had the same experience with Geminis? Every single person, even Geminis themselves, and it'd be the Geminis be the first ones to be like, man, we ain't even like that. Fuck astrology. That shit ain't even real. They be the first ones to like, yeah, Geminis would say astrology isn't real because every single one of us have had the same experiences with y'all. Every single person has had experience with, like, y'all know Loki is like supposed to be like the Gemini of the Marvel universe. Like the constant internal battle of good versus evil, like being an asshole and being a good person, but actually through their journey through that battle, they're actually supposed to make everyone in their life better. Like everyone that Gemini has around them actually becomes a better person by being around them, regardless of whether that Gemini's decision is a good decision or a bad decision. It's actually a defining trait of a Gemini. And that's the whole story behind Loki, by the way. That's like that's the point of the show. So anyway, but yeah, all Gemini, bro, my siblings are all Geminis except for one Scorpio, which, yeah. Bro, my brother is a Gemini, and my brother's a whole Gemini. He is two different people. When he be in that house, that boy is a Stepford wife, basically. He is cooking. He's the one cleaning everything. Like, it's just in his nature. He takes care of people. It's like, it's literally his nature. But boy, when he steps out, when he's out in them streets, that's Q, or Capo as we call him. My brother's name is Quentin. Like when he in the house, that's Quentin Anthony House. But when he's outside, that's Q. We call it, that's Capo. He's not the same person. Oh man. It's yeah, astrology is crazy. So if we're moving in great speeds around the galaxy, why are the constellations the same? Around the galaxy, if we are moving, I guess you would have to be a little bit more specific. Are you referring to the planet itself? Because I'm confused as to why the constellations would change just because we're moving at great speeds. Because isn't speed like a respective thing? What we consider great speed isn't actually in the grand scheme really fast. So I guess that's my question would be a question. Question: will Israel be allowed to do what they want going forward? No, I've actually maintained pretty consistently that I don't believe that Israel's going to exist in a few years. Not in its current state. I feel like they've overplayed their hand. I feel like they're idiots. I think they're going to get blown off the face of the map. I think there's going to be a regional war. Israel's going to have to fight on its own land, and that it's going to either lead to a bloodbath, victims primarily being Israel, or we're going to find out how much Israelis don't actually like their land as much as they thought they loved it, because they're going to fly deep out of there. They're going to be, we're out. Sorry, guys. We were okay with genocide, but we're definitely not okay with being massacred. Okay, so you're talking about our solar system around the Milky Way. So like you're talking about our solar system rotating around the Milky Way. I don't understand, but aren't those constellations also rotating? Everything is rotating. Everything is circular and cyclical. Literally everything. So if they're rotating around whatever they're rotating, like their solar system rotating around whatever they're rotating, even the galaxy itself is rotating around in the universe. So everybody's rotating at their set speed, which is probably what makes everything so predictable. So I guess the constellations I wouldn't expect to change because they're doing the same thing that we're doing. We're all rotating. We just a rotating ass universe. Yeah, all of it's taking. If Robbie Burns said that all of it's taking millions a year, yeah. So like, that makes sense. They can tell what year it is based off of where the constellation is at a certain day on a certain time of the night. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but why would the constellation change? Everything is cyclical, man. Y'all know how I feel about Revelations. So I'm a Christian in the sense like Christ-like, but I'm not like religiously Christian, if that makes sense. I don't believe in the religion of Christianity because I actually believe that it's antithetical to what Christ wanted, like Jesus himself. But it's going back to everything being cyclical, I feel like the reason that Revelations is so easily predicted and why they're very, very, if you read Revelations, actually, matter of fact, I wouldn't even read it in the Bible. Just read the details of Revelation, like so you can cut through the fantasy and all that good stuff. It's very specific and it is not out of hand. It is not crazy. It's like Jesus is going to after walking around proving to everybody that he's the guy. Okay, he's going around cussing out kings for waging war at a time, for spending their people's money, for overtaxing them, et cetera, et cetera. Talk about the extinction of sea life. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, we're almost exactly at the number, like the percentage of sea life that's supposed to be extinct during Revelations. And I think we're exactly at that number right now. If not there, we're like a percentage off. And then like crops being poisoned, unconsumable, like all that stuff is happening. But some people may believe like that's crazy to us. It's like, oh man, super predictive. And that would be more of a reason to believe in the Bible. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. The reason why is because it's probably something that happens more or less every 2100 or so years. The reason why is because that's the cycle of astrological eras. Get what I'm saying? We just left so we were in the year of the Pisces. The year of the Pisces started around the time period that Jesus would have been born in and died in. That's why the symbol of Jesus is the fish, because he was the start of the age of the Pisces. We are now entering the age of Aquarius. But all that stuff happened in Revelations during Jesus's life because that was a transition of a new age. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, what happened with Moses was also another transition of a new age. I don't know if you remember him complaining because like those pagans were worshiping, they said they were worshiping pagan idols, and those idols specifically happened to be a bull because he was trying to transition they were saying it was because like they were worshiping false gods or whatever. That's what the Bible says. My instinct tells me is that they were worshiping idols of a previous era, a previous astrological age, which would be the age of the Taurus. And it was actually time for them to transition into the age of, I believe it would be the Aries. Because astrology, so eras go backwards, in case you didn't know. It doesn't go like, what is it? Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. It doesn't go like that. It goes in the reverse. So a lot of the stories in the Bible and a lot of history can be tracked back to the commencement of an astrological age. And it would explain some of the randomness and make it a lot less random. Jesus' story, the reason I believe that Jesus is probably a real person is because every astrological age, that person is born. And he is created by circumstances that are predictable. In the universe, almost to some degree, the universe takes part through astrology, whatever you want to call it. But like I said, it's like a circumstantial situation. The universe actually takes part in each way it can in creating this figure that in that time was called Jesus. No, I don't believe in the Immaculate Conception part of Jesus. I believe that's just like serves a better, like it's just a nicer story. But like the distraction, there's even the people that tell the story of Jesus, everybody just uses the Jesus part and they fill his story with distractions. Catholics make it about Maria. Like it's super weird, the amount of focus they have on Maria. The cross for some reason became a symbol of Jesus, and that has zero to do with fucking Jesus, other than the fact that he died on it. That's not a symbol the fish is. But there's like all of these distractions to distract from the actual story of Jesus. And you know how people are, they get too distracted, it's hard for you to focus in when you got all these distractions. and the church is telling you what's the most important thing to focus on. You get what I'm saying? So if you really think about revelations, it's really easy to predict revelations if you understand astrology. And astrology is something that's been studied. I mean, hell, in India, you can get your PhD in fucking astrology. And that's not the only country. Astrology is taken very seriously in a lot of countries. Because it's not a thing, it's not something unpredictable, spiritual thing. It's a mathematical thing that they can actually quantify to some degree. Even, I mean, the theme of 12, if you will, like that, you were like, what the hell? Like, why? How coincidental can it be? Like, so there's 12, allegedly 12 dimensions, right? Okay, but there's also 12 American astrological signs, but also coincidentally, there's 12 Chinese astrological signs. That's super weird, don't y'all think? And there's also 12. I mean, some people would argue there's more numbers in numerology, but by my count, there's officially 12. Because there's 1, 2, 3, there's 1 through 9, but you have the master number 11, which can be 2 numbers. So it's like when you're a 2, you become an 11. If your life path is a 2, you become an 11. And then it's like, it's complicated. But basically, by my math, it's roughly 12. If you actually look at this, the Metatron cube, some people call it something else, but it's officially called the Metatron cube, actually has 12 points. So like the consistency of it all is like, okay, bro, like I can't, it's not a coincidence. There's a reason for all of it. And just thinking about the fact that all of it works like a clock, like all of it's just like, is actually a kind of a beautiful thought. Like, damn, something is like really out here just rotating. Just, yep. Not knew it was going, I didn't know it was going, like something's out there, like you didn't know it was going to happen, but like I knew something like this was going to happen. Like there's something, somebody, some entity, some like, or even if, I mean, hell, if it was spontaneous, that would be even wilder, but I doubt it's spontaneous. But yeah, it's a dope. That's why I don't understand how people can be atheists, because of the math. Like this no God guy that y'all don't believe in is really good at fucking math and engineering. That's what it sounds like to me. That's super weird for like, you telling me we spontaneously had perfect geometry and perfect calculus, like quantum level calculus. That's kind of weird. So we're at the exact length. We could have been born on Saturn. Or what is it? Saturn? No, Jupiter. That's like super close. Or Mars? No, not Mars. It's Jupiter, if I'm not mistaken. That's like, or Mercury. I think it's Mercury. That's like really goddamn close to the sun. We could have been born there, but we weren't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all of it. The fact that we're the perfect distance away from the sun, that we're not too far away from it. Like people forget, like we could be too far. An inch here, an inch there. We could be too far, and that's it. We too cold, and we dead now. You said why is there a hexagon on Saturn's pole? I did not know that. You just gave me something to look into. Do you believe in aliens? Yeah, I would be like a narcissist to believe that aliens don't exist. Like, I mean, I believe that we owe a lot of humanity's jump in technology to like aliens. Like, for example, iPad technology. Like, bro, that's like alien level shit. we be on our iPads and iPhones like kind of casual, but when you really think about the concept of like, how do we go from the internet to the cloud? Do y'all understand how crazy the concept of a cloud is? Because I know sometimes we think like, oh, it's on like a hard drive. No, there's genuinely a cloud of just fucking information, just a cloud. How do we advance that far in such a short amount of time? Everybody's like, yeah, man, well, technology builds upon itself. Yeah, that's true, but also, fuck no. I'm not just buying. Technology builds upon itself, don't explain some things. I'm sorry, it just does not. Oh, I'm not. Somebody, oh, what's the math in the Bible? The math in the Bible isn't really the math of the Bible. The math in the Bible actually is just using using cultural references to like Jesus or the Great Flood, which is just the flood of Mesopotamia. So like the whole world didn't really flood. It was actually just Mesopotamia. But like technically speaking, for them, that was their whole world. So they didn't have any other perception than otherwise. So like they use these real life events, real world occurrences. But and I would imagine whoever the arc, because we all know, I don't give a damn what book it is, the victor and the powerful and the elite, they write the story. At the end of the day, I don't give a damn who we like. It doesn't matter what book it is. So whoever was in charge, like I have my theories, for example, about, you know, how they talk about those slaves in Egypt, the big Moses, the whole Moses story. I have my theory that story ain't exactly what it's told to be. Like, you know, let my people go. I'm curious. I actually am not really of the mind at this point that story is entirely accurate. I believe that my people might have been a different group of people because the math ain't mathing on that shit. And, you know, so, but it is a really convenient story that helps push a narrative forward, you know. It's really convenient that like you're victim again. That's just super weird. And Moses is the king guy, and Jesus is supposed to be one of y'all too. And that's just like, just, you know, it's just super convenient that all the really important people just happen to be y'all. That's just, but also y'all the victims too. It's just super weird. So anyway, yeah, man, we covered a lot today. Shit, probably got about like 10 more minutes if y'all want me to answer anything else. I see somebody said AI equals all-seeing eye. I actually I know that I probably am in a minority here, but I don't think the AI is as smart as people think it is. I don't fear AI to the same degree everybody does, because I feel like that would be giving the elite too much credit. AI is like a child. Your child, and like when you're in, your child will always, like, AI is artificial intelligence. But sometimes we tend to forget there are different levels and types of intelligence. And yeah, the AI is going to learn what it learns from. And it's probably going to learn from the example of the human or the humans that were involved in the process. Okay. Here's the problem with that. So if I have a kid that was raised in a shitty house with a bunch of shitty people, and all those people, like, the kid is still absorbing information, technically speaking. But that kid is absorbing the wrong information. More than likely, if he's in a house full of dumb people who have stupid beliefs and a bad value system and are morally inconsistent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? That child is never actually, like, you're learning, he's learning or she's learning, but what the hell is she learning? So yeah, that could be bad in the sense like that child could do damage to other people's lives or their own life as they get older, but not on the scale like, oh man, all of a sudden this child is going to be smarter than me eventually. Why? Because he's learning all the time. Yeah, but what if he learned the wrong shit? And also his limitations, he's learning from me or from the people around him. So how can he then end up being smarter to the point of outthinking you in every single way? That's the problem with AI. AI can't outthink anybody. I don't give a damn. Like, if an AI can outthink me, it's because whoever programmed that AI can also outthink me. It's generally how it goes. So, Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. Muslims go around the black cube like the ring of Saturn. I've never heard of that. You have to give me some more details on that. Bernie Moses. Y'all wrong for that. Y'all wrong for that. Somebody said those people that, you know, Moses people in Egypt were a mercenary tribe hired by the Pharaoh. That's interesting. I've never heard that theory. I've never actually heard that theory, but it kind of would make sense because I don't know if y'all have ever seen real Egyptians. Like, I'm not talking about like post-colonial Egypt, excuse me. Like, I've seen the real Egyptians. They black. They're whatever stereotype you think of Africans when you think of Africa. Those Egyptians. So like basically you'll be telling me that all of those Egyptians, like, all those people would have been black. And also that there would be thousands of them, and somehow they couldn't rope in this one Pharaoh family that was just like, Like, y'all just let them all enslave you, and y'all had to wait for Jesus to tell Moses to stop. I guess you didn't even have to go through all these plagues, bro. You could have just, y'all 10,000 of y'all, 15,000 of y'all. Y'all got enough to build pyramids, apparently. So, like, go beat they ass. And, like, the story just don't really add up. This ain't like today where, like, the military got with, like, machine guns. You know what I'm saying? Like, the story don't really add up. And, like, then you got to wonder, like, hold on, how y'all end up in Egypt anyway? That's kind of a very specific place for thousands of y'all to be. And also, once again, if there are thousands of y'all, how did that person end up in charge and y'all didn't do anything? Like, it's just, look, there's some amazing stories in the Bible. That's probably the most amazing because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Spiritually or otherwise. So you say, like, right now we can't beat the U.S. But no, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. That's not the same. Because, like, there are 50% of the population, not really 50%, but, like, outside of the independents, there's still way too many people that actually think they believe in one side. Get what I'm saying? Like, also there's a weapons issue. There's a weapons disparity issue that they did not have back then. But there's too many people that believe in the Republicans and too many people that believe in the Democrats. So the muddying of the waters makes it hard to unite about this behind the singular cause. And you're not a singular group of people. You're not like a monolithic group or homogenous group of people like this particular group we're talking about in this particular situation. That group was all enslaved. They all hated these people. And somehow it took Moses and God and some plagues to free a bunch of them. And I'm like, y'all didn't need to call God. Why did y'all call God? Y'all didn't need to call him. Why are you bugging him for a problem that could have easily been solved if y'all outnumbered them to the degree that y'all could build an entire pyramid in the name of this person, this group, this family? Just saying. We got to reevaluate some history, is all I'm saying. You got to reevaluate some religion. You got to reevaluate some history. Like, I believe Moses was like a real person. I don't necessarily believe that he's who they say he is. I believe that he probably was a Jesus-like figure that was helping to transition from one age to another. But just like with Jesus, that story is easily co-opted, and you can, because it's almost like his existence was so important. You gotta co-opt his story now. If it wasn't that important, it wasn't that impactful, then you could just let Moses be whoever Moses is. But, like, in some way, form, or fashion, Moses' story is told. And usually it's to the convenience of the group that needs to tell the story. It's the same way with Jesus. In some way, form, or fashion, Jesus' story is told. Now, that story differs based on the group telling the story. But because of how consistent he is, or his existence is, in multiple cultures, you can't ignore him. So now I got to co-opt the story. So there are several people there, like, that's just why I know there are a lot of people who don't believe that Jesus was ever real. I'm like, that's silly. Maybe his name was different, but there was definitely a Jesus figure. That's a pretty consistent theme throughout the world, or that part of the world. So Moses would have been thrown off a cliff for working on the Sabbath. That's funny. Why? Netanyahu was actually not even religious. He's perfectly fine. All right, people. So I gotta get up out of here. This was a great Mimosa Mondays. I can't wait to do it again next week. Thank you all for tuning in to this Mimosa Monday. We will be back next week, hopefully with less technical difficulties. I appreciate you all for sticking around, for sure. Yeah, we got 400 people watching. That's crazy. We talked about politics for 10 minutes. Why y'all still here? No, I'm playing. But no, I appreciate y'all. I will be live tomorrow morning talking about everything that's going on. So make sure y'all subscribe if this is your first time here. Like this video, share this video. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.